May I invite you to take your seats, please? We are ready? Ladies and gentlemen, good morning. Good morning, all. Ladies and gentlemen, we pursued yesterday our work with the examination of our item 7B regarding the state of conservation of the sites inscribed on the World Heritage List. We will continue with this item today. However, under item 7A, sites on the list in danger, we have still to consider the results of the drafting groups that were working on draft decisions related to Niokolo-Koba National Park, Senegal, and Virunga National Park, Democratic Republic of Congo. The draft decision Niokolo-Koba National Park has been distributed, and for what concerns Virunga, it is only a small amendment that will be displayed on the screen. Furthermore, you also have to finalize the draft decision concerning Old Town of Gale and its fortifications, Sri Lanka. Therefore, if you agree, I suggest beginning our plenary session of this morning with adoption of these three decisions. We will then proceed with examination of the Libyan sites as requested by Lebanon. Dear colleagues, I would like to inform you that we still have to examine 18 reports under item 7B. Therefore, I would like to call upon your cooperation to ensure that we complete this item today to avoid taking any delay in our schedule of work. I also recall that item 7A is still open to allow for more consultations. Dear colleagues, may I also request that you have your bilateral consultations out of this room. Thank you very much. The first item on Niokolo-Koba National Park. A third drafting group was created yesterday to work on the draft decision on the Niokolo-Koba National Park. A text for the draft decision was prepared and has been circulated in the room this morning. If you agree, I propose that we now move on with the adoption by the committee of the draft decision 40-7A46. I would like to invite our rapporteur to take us through the revised draft decision proposed. Mrs. Joe, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and good morning to you all. For the Niokolo-Koba National Park, Senegal, you have in front of you the blue revised decision that is numbered 40-7A.46.rev. It's a lot of amendments that has taken place in the original draft, and I will just go through the major paragraphs that has been amended. We start in paragraph 4, and just for the benefit of reading, we've highlighted the final text because that's a lot of erasing and deleting that has been going on. Also warmly welcomes the efforts undertaken with the realization of the environmental and social impact study of the gold prospection project at Mako, and takes note of the mitigation measures proposed for the identified negative impacts of the project. Paragraph 5. Notes with concern that the ESIS of the Mako project indicates that indirect impacts of moderate importance are expected, which may exacerbate existing issues such as poaching, illegal gold prospection, and the fragmentation of habitat, and that the loss of the chimpanzee habitat outside the property will be permanent, for which no mitigation measures have yet been identified. Paragraph 6 is an addition. Requests the state party to provide information on the current status of the Mako gold prospection project. And paragraph 7 considers that the loss of chimpanzee habitat in the areas adjacent to the boundaries of the property represents a direct impact on the outstanding universal value of the property, particularly with regard to conditions of integrity, and would therefore risk further degradation of the recovering but fragile OUV. And paragraph 8, noting the conclusions of the ESIS regarding the impacts of the Mako gold prospection project on the OUV of the property, in particular the permanent loss of chimpanzee habitat in areas near the boundaries of the property, requests the state party not to grant approval to the project in its current conception in conformity with its decision 39-7A13, which requests the prohibition of any extractive activity outside of the property insofar as such an activity could have a negative impact on the OUV of the property, including its conditions of integrity. Para 9 strongly urges the state party to ensure that the ESIS is revised to take into account the above concerns in order to identify an alternative design and location for the Mako project that will not have an impact on the OUV of the property. And the rest of the draft decision remains the same as the original draft. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. As it was agreed at the drafting group, I invite the committee members for the adoption of this decision as a whole as amended. Is there any objection? I see none. I declare decision 40-7A46 adopted as amended. Dear colleagues, a drafting group was also created to work on the draft decision on the Virunga National Park. A text for the draft decision was prepared and we will put it on the screen. And our rapporteur, Mrs. Jo, will present the draft decision.
Thank you, Madam Chair. For the Virunga National Park, we only have one amendment that was submitted by Tanzania. It's an addition of another paragraph in paragraph 14. It reads, endorses the state's party's initiative to invite a joint World Heritage Center IUCN advisory mission to ascertain the progress and efforts made in the management of the property. And that is the only amendment that we have for this decision. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Is there any objection? I see none. I declare decision 40-7A41 adopted as amended. ladies and gentlemen, as you will remember yesterday, we had left the draft decision 40Com 7B47 pending to provide time to the rapporteur to propose a more appropriate wording for paragraph 7 of the draft decision amended by Vietnam. I was informed that the rapporteur already has a text to propose, and I would like to give the floor to our rapporteur. Mrs. Zhou.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Here up on the screen, we have two additional paragraphs that pertains to the original draft that the distinguished delegate of Vietnam proposed yesterday. This is taking into account a previous decision that was taken by the committee regarding a similar case in the Alto Douro region. And I will read. Paragraph 7 takes note of the expiry of the funding timeline for the project in May 2017 and strongly urges the state party not to start the port project until the findings of the ICOMOS advisory mission have been considered by the World Heritage Center. And paragraph 8 requests the director of the World Heritage Center, in consultation with the chairperson of the World Heritage Committee, to officially determine whether it is appropriate for the port project to proceed, having regard to the findings of the mission and compliance with all committee decisions related to the port project. This would enable an intersessional decision before the committee meets again next year. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Is there any objection? I see none. I declare decision 40Com 7B47 adopted as amended.
It's okay to give him the floor after me.
Dear colleagues, as you know, when we first discussed the list of state of conservation to be opened for discussion, the distinguished delegate of Lebanon had requested the Secretariat to prepare a new draft decision in view of inscribing all 5 World Heritage properties of Libya on the list of World Heritage in danger. This new draft decision was prepared and circulated to all of you yesterday on a blue paper. It is referred to as Draft Decision 40Com 7B 106. I would like to give the floor to Director Rösler.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair. So this draft decision was circulated, and it also refers to your discussion you had on heritage in conflict under item 7, where you already looked in general terms to the threats to the Libyan cultural heritage sites, which are imminent and required urgent risk prevention measures. So that was, if you want to look up your text in the general item 7, and UNESCO and the World Heritage Center contacted also the authorities of Libya, which is very important, and Mrs. Al-Hassan managed to get in direct touch with the Director of Antiquities in Libya. Madam Chair, you may wish to give the floor to the delegate of Lebanon. Thank you.
Representative of Lebanon, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam Chair. We have asked to open up discussion about all the World Heritage properties in Libya because in the document 7B, the two World Heritage properties were proposed for discussion, Cyrene and Tadrat Akasis. In both cases, the draft decisions expressed their very high concern regarding the state of conservation of these properties and regarding the security conditions prevailing in the sites. Due to the lack of reliable information, the document could not include reports on the state of conservation of the other World Heritage properties in Libya. However, the information that could be found in the media and the informations we get from the authorities in Libya indicate that Sabrata lies in the region occupied by Daesh, that Gadames lies near the zone controlled by ACME, and that Leptis Magna is occupied by a local militia. In these conditions, we think that the committee should take a decision to include all Libyan World Heritage Sites on the list in danger, as was previously done for the World Heritage Sites in Syria, in Iraq, and in Yemen. This would be done in accordance with Article 11.4 of the Convention that states clearly the committee may, at any time, in case of urgent need, make a new entry in the list of World Heritage in danger and publicize such entry immediately. We understand that the Secretariat, together with the advisory bodies, have prepared a draft decision on this issue that shall be presented for approval by the committee. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I would like to ask Mrs. Nada Al Hassan and ICOMOS whether they have any comment on this. You have the floor.
Merci Madame la Présidente. Bonjour, Excellences, Mesdames et Messieurs. À l'instar de l'Irak et de la Syrie, la Libye fait face à une situation de conflit qui menace son patrimoine culturel et naturel. Le Centre du patrimoine mondial et ses partenaires sont mobilisés depuis le début de la crise que traverse le pays pour soutenir les professionnels du patrimoine dans leurs efforts pour sauvegarder les sites et les musées du pays et notamment les 5 biens culturels inscrits sur la liste du patrimoine mondial. Du 9 au 10 mai 2016, une réunion internationale d'experts sur la sauvegarde du patrimoine culturel libyen, organisée par l'UNESCO et l'ICROM en collaboration avec l'ambassade des États-Unis d'Amérique en Libye, ainsi que le ministère libyen de la Culture, s'est tenue à Tunis, en Tunisie. L'objectif de cette réunion a été de faire l'état des lieux de la situation du patrimoine mondial culturel en Libye, sites archéologiques, musées, patrimoine urbain et patrimoine immatériel, et de développer un plan d'action stratégique et opérationnel en faveur de ce patrimoine. Cette réunion a également permis au Centre du patrimoine mondial de réunir certaines informations sur l'état de conservation des sites libyens pendant les groupes de travail et lors de réunions parallèles bilatérales consacrées à ces biens. Et en effet, ces informations confirment les inquiétudes exprimées par le Liban. Les professionnels libyens du patrimoine ont, selon leurs propres mots, des besoins importants en renforcement de la sécurité des sites et en renforcement des capacités pour faire face aux nombreuses menaces qui pèsent sur le patrimoine du pays. Leurs attentes sont à la hauteur de la complexité de la tâche qui leur incombe. Le résultat le plus satisfaisant de la réunion de Tunis a été de rassembler des experts nationaux de tous bords dans un pays divisé et de voir qu'au-delà des divergences qui peuvent exister, une dynamique de coopération a été amorcée. Aussi, le représentant spécial du secrétaire général de l'ONU, M. Martin Kobler, qui soutient entièrement le travail de l'UNESCO dans le domaine du patrimoine, a insisté lors de cette réunion sur la place centrale qu'occupe le patrimoine culturel dans le processus en cours de construction de la paix en Libye et l'importance cruciale de rallier les jeunes Libyens à cette cause. Mesdames et Messieurs, bien que les biens du patrimoine mondial de Libye n'aient pas subi de dommages importants à ce jour, la situation extrêmement difficile de ce pays divisé et en proie à la violence et la présence de groupes armés dans et aux abords des sites du patrimoine constitue en effet une véritable menace qui justifie l'inscription des biens libyens sur la liste du patrimoine mondial en péril. Et nous remercions le Liban pour avoir insisté et suggéré cet amendement. Avec votre permission, Madame la Présidente, l'ICOMOS voudrait prendre la parole. Merci.
Merci Madame la Présidente. En ayant examiné les informations qui sont à la disposition de l'organisation consultative, l'ICOMOS est prêt à soutenir la proposition de décision d'inscrire les biens du patrimoine mondial en Libye sur la liste du patrimoine mondial en péril. Merci.
Thank you, ICOMOS. I now invite the committee members to express their comments. Representative of Portugal.
Thank you very much, Madam President, and a very good morning to you. As I already said, I fully support this draft decision. I think it does address a very dramatic issue which had been more or less put under the rug. And I only have to thank the Lebanese delegation and my colleague for having taken this initiative, which I think is an excellent one. So we fully support this text. Thank you very much.
Ambassador, thank you very much. I see no more requests. Representative of Tunisia.
Merci, Madame la Présidente. Je voudrais commencer tout d'abord par remercier l'honorable délégué du Liban pour avoir eu cette idée tout à fait efficiente de proposer un projet de décision concernant les 5 biens à la fois. Nous savons tous la situation sécuritaire difficile par laquelle passe l'État partie et qu'il est absolument nécessaire de proposer cette décision car le gouvernement libyen trouve beaucoup de difficultés à sécuriser déjà ses biens et à prendre les mesures nécessaires afin d'éviter ces dommages. Donc je salue cette proposition. Je voudrais par ailleurs rappeler que l'État partie lui-même s'est engagé dans un processus de conservation par la formation, et cela avec l'aide du Centre du patrimoine mondial et des organisations consultatives, plus particulièrement l'ICROM. J'aurais un petit amendement à ajouter au projet de décision pour féliciter l'État partie de s'être engagé d'ores et déjà dans ce processus de conservation des biens du patrimoine mondial. Merci.
Thank you. Representative of Kuwait.
شكرا سعادة رئيسة. بالبداية أتقدم بالشكر إلى الوفد اللبناني وخبير اللبناني الدكتور جاد، حيث تعهدت الدول العربية الأعضاء في لجنة التراث العالمي على إضافة بند جديد فيما يستجمع ما يتضمن مناقشة أوضاع مواقع التراث الثقافي في ليبيا لأجل وضعها على لائحة التراث المعرض للخطر. ونحن نؤيد وبشدة ما طلب الوفد اللبناني، وشكرا.
Ambassador, thank you very much. I see no more requests from the members of the committee for the floor. I give the floor to the representative of France. Excellency, you have the floor.
Merci, Madame la Présidente. Nous soutenons bien évidemment cette décision en tant qu'État observateur du comité. C'est une excellente décision. Je voulais également saisir cette occasion pour mentionner qu'au-delà du patrimoine monumental, il y a également les objets d'art qui sont à préserver et que nous avons très heureusement pu récupérer grâce au soutien d'ailleurs de la délégation israélienne et du directeur des antiquités israéliennes, une tête libyenne qui venait du musée de Cyrène, et que cette tête sera remise par la France. Elle est actuellement stockée à Paris à l'initiative du ministère de la Culture et qu'elle sera remise aux autorités libyennes au mois de septembre, normalement le 30 septembre, à l'occasion de la 20e session du comité intergouvernemental sur le retour des propriétés culturelles dans leur pays d'origine. Donc je voudrais saluer cette chaîne, en quelque sorte, qui part d'Israël, qui passe par la France, le Centre du patrimoine mondial et l'UNESCO, et qui permettra à cette œuvre antique de retrouver le musée dont elle est provenue. Merci, Madame.
Thank you very much, Mr. Ambassador. I give the floor to Madame Rösler.
Thank you very much. I would also like to thank the Ambassador of France for the intervention and for this information, which is very important. We will have the session of the subsidiary committee of the 1970 convention in September, to be followed directly by the restitution committee. And I would like to inform the World Heritage Committee that we work hand in hand between these two committees and also their chairpersons. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Madame Rösler. Thank you. I see no more requests for the floor. I would like to invite our rapporteur to present the draft decision and the proposed amendment.
Thank you, Madam Chair. The only amendment that we have was the amendment proposed by the distinguished delegate of Tunisia, and I hope this sits well with his suggestion. It's to commend the State Party for making strong commitments for conservation of its property, but expresses its utmost concern, and it just leads on to the existing paragraph 3.
En gros, c'est cela. J'avais eu quelques difficultés de communiquer, mais en gros, c'est cela. Voilà. C'est bon, ça marche.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. That is all the amendments that I have to the existing new decision, new draft decision that was proposed by the distinguished delegate of Lebanon. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mrs. Zhou. I see no objection. I declare decision 40-COM 7B 106 adopted as amended. I would like to invite Mrs. Nada El Hassan to present the next report.
Merci Madame la Présidente. Le rapport sur l'état de conservation du site archéologique de Cyrène en Libye se trouve dans le document 7B AD à la page 36 en français et 34 en anglais. L'État partie n'a pas fourni de rapport sur l'état de conservation du site et l'avancement de la mise en œuvre des recommandations formulées par le comité à sa dernière session. Rappelons que le comité était très alarmé par les constructions illégales au sein du bien. Les seules informations dont nous disposons à ce jour proviennent donc de la réunion avec les experts internationaux et libyens qui s'est tenue à Tunis au mois de mai dernier. Ces informations concernant la situation sur le site sont en effet très préoccupantes, comme vous pouvez voir sur ces photos qui sont de l'année dernière, mais qui sont donc une tendance qui se propage dans le site avec des constructions illégales au sein du bien, à cause d'une ambiguïté sur les propriétés foncières. Les professionnels du patrimoine libyen nous ont informés qu'il y a une augmentation de l'empiètement urbain à la périphérie du site. Ils arrivent à la contenir à l'intérieur, mais pas à la périphérie. Ils ont également souligné l'accroissement du vandalisme et le fait que de nombreuses tombes de la partie sud-ouest du bien avaient été détruites par des bulldozers. Le département des Antiquités travaille avec les autorités responsables à l'établissement d'un accord permettant l'allocation de fonds pour acheter des terrains dans le site et dans son périmètre afin de réduire l'impact négatif des constructions nouvelles sur le bien. L'exploration de solutions sur les moyens d'affronter ce problème est en cours et soulève différents problèmes juridiques et financiers qu'il est très difficile de régler en cette période où la gouvernance est très limitée en Libye. Notons que l'armée avait répondu positivement à la demande du département des Antiquités de sécuriser le site en empêchant les bulldozers de pénétrer dans la zone du Djebel Akhdar, où le bien est situé. Cette mesure n'est cependant pas encore entrée en vigueur. Sur cette question, il a été souligné que les municipalités ont un rôle essentiel à jouer pour amener les organismes de sécurité à assurer la protection du bien. La réunion de Tunis a confirmé que l'empiètement urbain et les logements illégaux, ainsi que la destruction intentionnelle, constituent avec l'incendie les principales menaces pour Cyrène et pour les autres biens libyens, les sites archéologiques notamment. La situation actuelle dans le pays soulève de grandes préoccupations sur la capacité des autorités responsables à garantir la protection et la conservation de Cyrène. Plusieurs mesures en termes de suivi, de sécurité et de conservation ont été définies, mais comme tous les autres biens des pays arabes que je vous ai présentés, il manque des moyens financiers. Les mesures préventives de suivi et les mesures palliatives définies lors de notre réunion technique devront être mises en œuvre d'urgence. Il est essentiel qu'une mission conjointe de suivi réactif UNESCO-ICOMOS demandée par le comité à sa 39e session à Bonn soit envoyée dès que la situation le permettra. D'ici là, les autorités libyennes responsables devraient tenir le Centre du patrimoine mondial au courant de la situation sur le terrain et mettre en œuvre, dans la mesure du possible, les recommandations de la réunion internationale d'experts, ainsi que les demandes du comité figurant dans ses précédentes décisions. Le projet de décision vous est soumis à la page 37 en français et 35 en anglais du document 7B. 7B-AD, il a été amendé afin de permettre la cohérence avec la décision générale sur les biens libyens à peine adoptée par vous. Madame la Présidente, l'ICOMOS souhaiterait prendre la parole avec votre permission. Merci.
Thank you very much, representative of ICOMOS.
Merci Madame la Présidente. L'ICOMOS reconnaît que la situation actuelle à Cyrène n'est pas favorable à la mise en œuvre des activités de conservation qui avaient été recommandées par le Comité du patrimoine mondial et exacerbe les menaces qui pèsent sur le patrimoine culturel. L'organisation consultative prend note avec inquiétude des dégâts et des menaces persistantes causées par le vandalisme, les empiètements urbains et les destructions de tombes monumentales dont les professionnels du patrimoine en Libye font rapport. L'ICOMOS appuie les efforts de longue haleine de l'UNESCO et de l'ICROM, notamment par la réunion internationale d'experts de mai 2016 qui vise le renforcement des capacités des professionnels libyens pour la mise en œuvre d'actions prioritaires à court, moyen et long terme en réponse aux besoins identifiés par ces professionnels. Les organisations consultatives reconnaissent que l'engagement de la société civile en faveur de la sauvegarde et de la protection des biens est déterminant pour la bonne conduite de ces actions, tout comme est indispensable la mobilisation de la communauté internationale. Merci, Madame.
Thank you very much. The floor is open for the comments of the member countries. I see no request for the floor. Then I can move to our rapporteur to present the draft decision for the COM 7B24 and if there is any amendment on this proposal.
Thank you, Madam Chair. The only amendment that we make to this draft decision pertains to the last part of the decision to make it conform to the previous general decision on Libya that we just took, and it is to decide in conformity with Article 11.4 of the Convention and paragraphs 177 and 179 of the operational guidelines to inscribe the archaeological site of Syrian Libya on the list of World Heritage in Danger. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you very much. Is there any objection? I see none. I declare decision 40COM 7B24 adopted as amended. I would like to invite Mrs. Nada Al-Hassan to present the next report. You have the floor.
Merci Madame la Présidente. Le rapport sur l'état de conservation du site archéologique de Tadrart Akakus en Libye se trouve dans le document 7B AD à la page 38 en français et 36 en anglais. L'État partie n'a pas fourni de rapport sur l'avancement réalisé dans la mise en œuvre des recommandations adoptées par le comité à sa dernière session. Les seules informations dont nous disposons à ce jour proviennent également de la réunion d'experts qui s'est tenue à Tunis en mai dernier. Lors de cette réunion, nous avons été informés qu'aucun signe de vandalisme sur le site n'avait été signalé depuis les dommages causés aux peintures rupestres en 2009, où il y avait eu des vandales qui avaient dessiné et tagué les peintures rupestres. Les professionnels libyens du patrimoine ont toutefois exprimé leur préoccupation quant au fait que le massif de l'Acacus est devenu un point de passage pour un certain nombre de migrants venus de l'Afrique subsaharienne et que cette forte augmentation de la présence humaine constitue une menace pour ce site isolé et essentiellement protégé par son isolement. Ils ont également souligné que les gardiens du site n'ont pas le moyen d'agir, en plus le site est très étendu, que leurs abris sont régulièrement vandalisés et que l'engagement de la communauté locale touareg est malheureusement insuffisant. Enfin, ils ont confirmé qu'aucune des mesures recommandées par la mission de suivi réactif de 2011 n'a été mise en œuvre à ce jour. Comme pour le site de Cyrène, les informations obtenues sur ce site sont préoccupantes. Il est essentiel que l'État partie informe le Centre du patrimoine mondial dès que ce sera possible de la situation et qu'il mette en œuvre des mesures essentielles de conservation et de sauvetage définies par la mission de suivi réactif de 2011. Il serait également souhaitable de disposer d'informations actualisées sur la situation. D'ici là, les autorités devraient continuer de s'abstenir d'entreprendre toute mesure corrective non recommandée par la mission de suivi réactif de 2011. Nous rappelons ceci car toute mesure corrective avec des produits chimiques inadéquats pourrait endommager, par exemple, les vandalismes qu'on a vus sur les peintures rupestres au lieu d'être favorable à leur conservation. Il serait souhaitable d'envoyer une nouvelle mission conjointe de suivi réactif UNESCO-ICOMOS sur le site dès que les conditions de sécurité le permettront. Le projet de décision vous est soumis à la page 39 en français et 37 en anglais, tel que amendé donc pour intégrer l'inscription sur la liste en péril. Madame la Présidente, avec votre permission, l'UNESCO souhaiterait prendre la parole. Merci.
Thank you very much. Representative of ICOMOS, you have the floor.
Merci Madame la Présidente. L'ICOMOS reconnaît avec regret que la situation actuelle en Libye n'est pas favorable aux activités de conservation préconisées par le Comité du patrimoine mondial pour les sites d'art rupestre du Tadrar Takakus et fait peser des menaces sur ces biens culturels. Bien que l'isolement des sites d'art rupestre du Tadrar Takakus ait été un élément en faveur de la protection du bien, maintenant il exacerbe les défis et éveille de nouvelles inquiétudes rapportées par les professionnels du patrimoine de Libye. Si aucune information ne fait état de dégradation des peintures pariétales depuis 2009, l'ICOMOS considère que l'État partie devrait être encouragé à fournir dès que possible des informations à jour sur l'état de conservation des sites d'art rupestre et à mettre en œuvre les mesures de conservation recommandées par la mission de suivi réactif de 2011 quand la situation le permettra. Merci Madame la Présidente.
Thank you very much. The floor is open for the comments of the members of the committee. I see no request for the floor. So we can move to the adoption of draft decision 40Com 7B25. Mrs. Rapporteur, have you received any amendment on this draft decision?
Thank you, Madam Chair. It's the same amendment that pertains to our previous decision, and it's to inscribe the rock art sites of Tadra Akakus on the list of World Heritage in Danger. It's an insertion of that new paragraph. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Is there any objection? I see none. I declare decision 40Com 7B25 adopted as amended. and gentlemen, we have concluded our work from yesterday's session. So now we can start with Europe and North America Culture section 7B. For our reports on the state of conservation of the cultural properties located in the Europe and North America region, I would like to give the floor to the delegation of Lebanon to present to the committee the reason why it requested to open the State of Conservation report on the Historic Center of Vienna, Austria. Excellency, you have the floor.
Yes, thank you, Mrs. Chair. The issue of development pressures threatening the OUV of Vienna Historic Center is a very old story. When the committee inscribed the Vienna Historic Center in 2001, it was my first committee meeting. It insisted on the importance of controlling the heights and volumes of the new developments so as not to impair the visual integrity of the property. Less than 1 year later, Vienna municipal authorities delivered a permit for Vienna Mitte project, including several towers that would affect historic cityscape. Following a threat from the committee to start the process of delisting the property in case the state party cannot provide assurance of respecting committee's recommendations, the project was then modified in order to better preserve the city skyline, but the committee was forced to accept the almost completed 87-meter Vienna City Tower that was described at that time as an error in urban planning and, quote, as a bad example to prevent future errors, end quote. This experience was the starting point for a reflection launched by the committee on the issue of historic urban landscapes that led to the adoption by UNESCO General Conference of a specific recommendation called Hull Recommendation in 2011. 15 years later, the same story repeats itself. Under the pressure of developers, Vienna City Council adopted in 2014 the so-called high-rise concept, which foresee the construction of dozens of skyscrapers. As part of this plan, the Vienna Ice Skate Club Intercontinental Hotel project has been launched. We are facing a similar case as with the Shalimar Garden Metro project, but in Vienna's case, the project is even more questionable since it is a purely speculative project and not a public service project. We are thankful to the state party for the information that this project is temporarily put on halt. However, the threat is still here. The committee cannot accept once again a fait accompli, which would be considered as a bad example to prevent future errors, a new bad example to prevent future errors. We have to send right now a very clear message to Vienna municipal authorities that they cannot have both the cake and eat it. Either they want to preserve the World Heritage status of their city, or they prefer to yield to developers' pressures. The issue is not only that of revision of the Vienna Skate Club International Hotel project, but that of deleting definitely both the high-rise concept and the Glacis master plan developed under the framework of the urban development plan adopted by Vienna Council in December 2014, since both plans, if applied, would affect irreversibly the OUV of the property. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your very thorough explanation. Now I would like to give the floor to Mrs. Anatole Gabriel, Chief of the Europe and North America Unit of the World Heritage Center, to respond to this comment.
Merci Madame la Présidente. L'ensemble des informations données par l'État partie étant en anglais, je vais donc parler en anglais. The State of Conservation Report of the Historic Center of Vienna in Austria is on page 65 in the English version and page 68 in the French version in the document 7B add. Since the publication of the State of Conservation Report, the World Heritage Center has been receiving a large number of letters from civil society expressing concerns over the project in the vicinity of the World Heritage property of Historic Center of Vienna. The main issues expressed relate to the Vienna Ice Skating Club Intercontinental Hotel Vienna Concert House Development Project and the planning and development controls that apply to the property. All correspondences received from civil society were forwarded to the state party. As the distinguished delegate of Lebanon has mentioned, in fact, indeed, as mentioned in the State of Conservation report, on 19 May 2016, the state party sent a letter to the World Heritage Center informing of their decision not to pursue the land use planning procedure regarding the Vienna Ice Skating Club Intercontinental Hotel Vienna Concert House Development Project. On 7 July, the World Heritage Center received new information from the state party, also addressed to the members of the committee. The information underlined, among other elements already contained in the State of Conservation report, that in accordance with the result of the ICOMOS reactive monitoring mission, an independent advisory board of architecture was commissioned by the city of Vienna, which pointed out the need to adapt the current plans of the above-mentioned development project in order to ensure their compatibility with the World Heritage Site and to prevent the loss of the World Heritage status. The new information also details measures such as the conduct of a strategic impact environmental assessment according to the Austrian law and the undertaking of a heritage impact assessment on the development projects with 3D visualization. The draft decision is on page 67 in the English version and page 70 in the French version. With your permission, Mrs. Chairperson, I think ICOMOS would like to make the comments. Thank you.
Thank you. Representative of ICOMOS, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Since the inscription of the Historic Centre of Vienna on the World Heritage List, the quantum and scale of urban developments, including new high-rise buildings, has reached a critical level and now constitutes a threat to its integrity and authenticity. Planning provisions and guidelines adopted by the Vienna City Council, namely the High-Rise Concept 2014 and the Glacis Master Plan, allow for significant increase in building height and density within the consolidated city, encompassing the property and its buffer zone. If implemented, these provisions would introduce development of a form and scale that is inconsistent with the existing historic built form and which would adversely affect the historic cityscape observed from distant views. As we have heard, a current development proposal represents a watershed moment for the historic centre of Vienna and ultimately the authenticity, integrity and outstanding universal value of the property. If the Vienna Ice Skating Club Intercontinental Hotel Vienna Concert House Development project proceeds as proposed, the impact of the new building on both the close urban context and on the vistas towards the Vienna Historic Centre from the Belvedere Gardens and Museum Palace would be further exacerbated, and the accumulated impacts would pass the threshold where the outstanding universal value of the property is irreversibly affected. ICOMOS therefore welcomes the recent advice from the State Party that the authorisation process for the Vienna Ice Skating Club Intercontinental Hotel Concert House Development Project has been halted, and that plans for the proposal will be altered based on expert advice to ensure their compatibility with the attributes that contribute to the OUV of the property, and that there will be 3D visualisations of the amended proposal, a heritage impact assessment and a strategic environmental assessment focused on cultural heritage and landscape which will be prepared and submitted to UNESCO. It would be appropriate for the committee to note these commitments by the state party and to confirm that the building height must be reduced exactly as already recommended by the 2012 reactive monitoring mission. But this project is symptomatic of a fundamental problem with the current planning framework for the property, particularly the high-rise concept 2012 and the Glacis Master Plan. Therefore, to protect the outstanding universal value of the property, it is essential and urgent not just to dramatically change this one development, but also to change the planning documents and guidelines which have enabled this highly inappropriate project to be conceived and developed in its present form. These changes are urgent to prevent other inappropriate development proposals if the current serious and specific danger to the property is to be averted. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you very much. The floor is open for the comments of the members of the committee. Representative of Portugal, you have the floor, Excellency.
Thank you very much, Madam President. We are again facing a situation where on one side we have the heritage protection and preservation, and on the other side we have economic and social development dimensions. As I said yesterday, I strongly believe that all these cases should be treated in a coherent and consistent way, avoiding double standards. I think it is an issue that touches upon the credibility of our committee. This being said, I thank again my Lebanese colleague for the very detailed and comprehensive description of the situation and its historical evolution, which is also important to bear in mind. And I don't think that many in this room have his experience of this committee. So, very briefly, since we saw that since the site was inscribed on the World Heritage List in 2001, the committee has repeatedly recommended that the state party undertakes the necessary measures to review the height and volume of new developments. And it is not only, as our friend from ECOWAS just underlined, it is not only an issue of this or that building or this or that development. It is a question of the whole approach and the legal framework that supports that type of approach. And this is what has to be changed. And perhaps not only in Vienna, but in, unfortunately, many other cities, especially in Europe. But nevertheless, and very sadly, 15 years later, we are still discussing the same threats and the similar impacts over the site. What I think we need today is to send a very serious and clear message to the Vienna municipal authorities and telling them very clearly that we mean business. And if they do not abide by what they themselves took up when they inscribed this site on the list, then we will act. So obviously we support the draft decision. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Ambassador. Representative of Poland.
Thank you, Madam Chair. We were alarmed by the intercontinental hotel development project, but what we see as much more serious are changes in the general land development policy. The planning provisions adopted by the Vienna City Council allow for a significant increase in scale of building height and density within the core of the World Heritage property and its buffer zone. These changes not only affect historic center of Vienna, but also another Austrian World Heritage property, Palace and Gardens of Schönbrunn, directly, and indirectly, many more World Heritage properties. The relationship between historic monuments and the historic urban fabric is an essential attribute of the outstanding universal value of this property. Poland is of the same opinion as the advisory body that since the inscription of the property on the World Heritage List, the quantum and scale of urban developments, including high-rise buildings, have reached a critical level, constituting a serious potential threat to its authenticity and integrity. Poland, as I heard, more countries looks at Vienna and other European historic cities as those setting standards for heritage protection. We would like to share our concerns caused by Vienna city center development and more specifically by the city authorities' approach to World Heritage and built heritage in general. City centers are living sites with high demands, but is the approach taken by Vienna is the right one? Thank you.
Thank you very much. Representative of Peru.
Muchas gracias, señora presidenta. Hemos escuchado con mucha atención la intervención de ICOMOS, que es complementaria, evidentemente, al informe escrito que el órgano consultivo ha puesto en consideración del comité. Hemos tomado nota, asimismo, de las informaciones del Centro del Patrimonio Mundial y muy específicamente de las acciones y disposiciones adoptadas por el Estado parte en la línea de mitigar los problemas derivados de la construcción de estos dos proyectos específicos. Sin embargo, resulta claro que el problema no es solamente de dos casos. Estamos frente a una situación donde el aumento de la densidad y el volumen de los asentamientos urbanos al interior del centro de la ciudad se orientan en una perspectiva de dañar, de poder afectar el BUE del centro histórico de Viena. Y en ese sentido nos parece que es indispensable que el comité pueda adoptar las previsiones correspondientes para asegurar que las decisiones que puedan adoptar las autoridades del Estado parte estén en la línea del cumplimiento pleno de las recomendaciones hechas por el comité. Y en ese sentido nos parece que es indispensable, por una razón de previsión en relación a lo que puede ocurrir en el futuro inmediato, que nuestra decisión sea coherente y refleje la preocupación que esta situación produce. Por esa razón, la delegación del Perú respalda plenamente el proyecto de decisión y muy especialmente el párrafo resolutivo 11, en el que se señala que de no resolverse los problemas existentes, el comité considerará la posibilidad de incluir el bien en la lista en peligro. Gracias, señora presidenta.
Thank you very much. Representative of Finland, you have the floor.
Thank you, Chair. In the case of Vienna, we are once again addressing the issue of visual integrity and visual impact. As Finland stated yesterday when discussing the Pakistani site Shalimar Gardens in Lahore, the question of visual integrity in a developing urban environment is very challenging. ICOMOS is currently updating its guide on heritage impact assessment, and I have especially requested them to address the visual impact issue in the updated guide. As pointed out by the distinguished ambassador of Portugal, without a good guidance, we will continue to solve these issues without a common alignment and sometimes even on an emotional basis. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Representative of Turkey.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Madam Chair, the introductory statement made by the delegation of Lebanon and also the delegation of Portugal's response carried us back to the teaching experience of the processes we went through in the case of the city of Istanbul and its historic sites, which led to postponement of a number of projects, revision of projects, amendments, additional costs and time lost, etc. So having learned lessons from these projects and these processes, the Turkish delegation read with concern the position of the city of Vienna, particularly the remarks that the city of Vienna considers that the development of the project will not negatively impact the OUV of the property because of the negotiations carried out with international experts, etc. Also, the final decision has not yet been made, and Vienna City is going to adopt its decision about the project later in 2016. And in case the decision is affirmative, the construction work may start in as early as 2018. Also, we read the remarks that the city of Vienna considers that halting of the development project at this time does not seem feasible because coordination measures required under Vienna's legislative system have not set time frames which will not accommodate further inputs from the committee. Given these facts, in the report prepared by the World Heritage Center and the advisory bodies in 2016, it is indicated that urban developments, including new high-rise buildings, have reached a critical level, causing a potential threat to the property's authenticity and integrity. In addition to this, it is mentioned that if STEP 2015 urban development plan is implemented, its planning provisions would erode the morphological coherence and the property by introducing new development of a form and scale that is not compatible with existing assets. So we join our voice to the other delegations that a strong message is to be given to authorities in Vienna to follow up the criteria and the guidelines set by the UNESCO World Heritage Committee and the Convention. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Representative of Vietnam.
Thank you very much, Madam Chairperson. Vietnam followed the concerns that the Vienna Ice Skating Club, the Intercontinental Hotel, the Vienna Concert House Development Project, which on hold now may be decided upon by the Vienna City Council to decide late in 2016, with construction work potentially commencing in 2016. And this, especially with the high-rise buildings, may affect the OUV of the property. Therefore, we support the draft decisions in order to send the strong message, the strong warning signal to the Vienna authorities for the protection of the property. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. I see that the majority of the committee members are in favor of draft decision. Representative of Lebanon.
Excuse me, Mrs. Chair, to take the floor again. It will be very short. Following the report by ICOMOS, it may be interesting to add in the draft decision a small paragraph about the commitment of the state party to to stop the construction and to revise the project, etc., etc. I think that the state party has taken very strong commitment, and this should be included in the draft decision. Maybe we ask the Secretariat to write a small paragraph on this, and we can adopt it after 1 hour.
Can I ask the representative of ICOMOS to draft a paragraph in this line and present to the committee when it is ready? Thank you very much. May I invite Mrs. Cho to present the draft decision, COM 7B49 first? Each paragraph, please.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I just wanted to draw the committee's attention to existing paragraph 9 of the draft decision. The distinguished delegate of Lebanon asked for a paragraph noting that the state party's commitment to stop the project and also to urge them to revise the project. And if we read paragraph 9, it's while noting the state party's decision not to pursue the land use planning procedures for the proposed Vienna Ice Skating Club Intercontinental Hotel Vienna Konzerthaus project, nevertheless expresses its concern that the proposed project remains inconsistent with the recommendations of the 2012 mission and would adversely affect the OEV of the property if implemented in its current form, and urges the state party to facilitate a major revision of this project design. I'm wondering if any other elements need to be included here. Thank you.
Representative of Lebanon.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Yes, I agree. Probably this is enough. I mean, this paragraph is enough. I have another question for the advisory bodies, and I stop here. In paragraph 11, it is written that the committee requests the state party to submit to the World Heritage Center by December 1, 2017, an updated report. Can't we ask for the updated report by February 2017 in order for the next committee to start examining what's happening? Because if we let it till 2018, it may be too late. What is the opinion of ICOMOS on this subject?
Representative of ICOMOS, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam Chair. If I may, I might deal with both of those issues that were just raised by the Honourable Delegate from Lebanon. I agree with the rapporteur that virtually everything that was raised is covered by paragraph 9, but it might be helpful for the avoidance of any doubt to add to paragraph 9, subparagraph A, words that say to comply with the recommendations of the 2012 mission report, so there is no doubt about the height restriction that must apply. In terms of the timing for a report back, ICOMOS absolutely agrees this is an urgent matter because it will become worse if there are further lawful applications made by other developers within the city of Vienna, and therefore I think the timing change is highly appropriate. I do know through you, Madam Chair, that the representatives from the State Party and the City of Vienna are in the room, and I believe that they are amenable to such a time frame, but it might be helpful to hear directly from the State Party in this regard. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you very much. Is State Party asking for the floor?
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair.
Yeah.
First of all, I want to thank ICOMOS and the distinguished members of the committee for the open words and opportunity to take the floor. On behalf of the Austrian State Party, I want to stress that we fully support the draft decision, also as amended. Allow me to add that the mission report 2015 was discussed with the City of Vienna as the most important issues like building legislation are generally the concern of the local authorities. Therefore, please hear now the representative of the Viennese municipality.
Dear ladies and gentlemen, the City of Vienna is proud to be on the World Heritage List, and we will take every effort to protect the outstanding universal value. Therefore, I want to state out the following 3 points. First, end of May, the Vice Mayor of Vienna decided the temporary hold of the legal process for the proposed high-rise building, Ice Skating Club Vienna. And this step was taken on the basis of 2 facts: on the result of the mission from November 2015 and on the fact that a complete independent advisory body for city planning and architecture pointed out, as we heard, that it is necessary to rethink the height in order to the World Heritage. And in this process, and this is very important, of redesigning, also Professor Wachten and Dr. Klaus, holder of the UNESCO chair of the Technical University Aachen, Germany will take part. And second, the master plan class C, yes, will be reconsidered in order of the advice of ICOMOS. Third, the high-rise concept of 2014 has already very strict regulations concerning the protections of visual access, but we will rethink of the recommendation of ICOMOS to define also exclusion zones. And lastly, yes, I guess we can agree to deliver the report by February 2017 for discussion at the next World Heritage Committee meeting. Thank you.
I thank the State Party for the explanation. We can move now to the adoption of the draft decision as amended. Is there any objection? I see none. I declare decision 40-com 7B49 adopted as amended. For our next report, I would like to give the floor again to the delegation of Lebanon to present to the committee the reason why it requested to open the State of Conservation report on Venice and the Lagoon, Italy. You have the floor.
Thank you, Mrs. Chair. What we are discussing now is indeed at the heart of the convention. We should all remember that one of the first campaigns launched by UNESCO to rescue heritage in danger was the campaign launched in the mid-60s to rescue Venice heritage threatened by dramatic floods. This campaign, together with that launched to rescue Aswan temples in Egypt, paved the way for the birth of the idea of the World Heritage Convention. This convention that will celebrate next year its 45th anniversary. Since several years, the situation of heritage in Venice has been worsening, and it has reached now a dramatic situation. However, Venice state of conservation was never discussed in the committee since its inscription. This is one of the major reasons why Lebanon is asking to discuss the case of Venice. The case of Venice illustrates in an extensive manner the problems that historic cities are facing today. Large infrastructural works, environmental pressures, deterioration of the eco and cultural systems, excessive touristic pressure, loss of integrity and authenticity, lack of effective planning and management. For many years, all those concerned with heritage have been warning of the threats that are now affecting the OUV of Venice property. The reaction of our committee comes very late indeed. We have now to act quickly. We should recognize that Venice heritage is in danger, and we should launch a new rescue campaign to save this heritage. The symbolic impact of such a campaign would be considerable. Launching such a campaign will be to the credit both of the UNESCO and of our committee. It will help mobilize considerable amount of energies and will federate all efforts to save this heritage that is so dear to our hearts. I would like just to give a small personal remark. When I was a young boy or a young man, there was this UNESCO campaign that was launched for the floods of Venice. And my father used in our house, every day to show me the pictures. And he participated in the campaign, and he was one of the main figures of the Lebanese Committee for Saving Venice. Thank you.
Thank you very much for the explanation. Now I would like to give the floor to Mrs. Anatole Gabriel and later ICOMOS to respond to this presentation.
Merci Madame la Présidente. Depuis la publication du rapport sur l'état de conservation, nous n'avons pas reçu de nouvelles informations. Je vais donc résumer les grands points du rapport qui est soumis au comité. Le rapport sur l'état de conservation du bien Venise et sa lagune en Italie se trouve dans le document 7B à la page 69 en anglais et à la page 72 en français. Ainsi que le mentionne le rapport sur l'état de conservation du bien, la première mission de suivi réactif menée conjointement par le Centre du patrimoine mondial, l'UICN et Ramsar a eu lieu du 13 au 18 octobre 2015. Le rapport a été envoyé à l'État partie le 9 juin 2016. Il a été demandé à l'État partie de transmettre au Centre du patrimoine mondial les éventuelles erreurs factuelles relevées. Le rapport sur l'état de conservation de Venise et sa lagune présente les facteurs menaçant le bien. Ces facteurs se résument de la manière suivante. Une combinaison de construction et de transformation qui ont déjà eu lieu dans la ville historique, de grands projets d'aménagement proposés sur le pourtour de la lagune, extension de l'aéroport, nouveaux terminaux portuaires, et la conversion de bâtiments à des fins touristiques. Le rapport sur l'état de conservation souligne que ces facteurs induiraient une grave détérioration des systèmes écologiques et culturels de la lagune, ainsi que de la cohérence architecturale et urbanistique de la ville historique. Le rapport souligne néanmoins que des progrès ont été réalisés par l'État partie en matière d'approche intégrée de gestion de la lagune. Le Centre du patrimoine mondial a reçu également des informations émanant de la société civile, témoignant de leur vive préoccupation de l'état de conservation du bien et soulignant son aggravation depuis la mission de suivi réactif. Je voulais rappeler également à l'attention des membres du comité que le bien a déjà été discuté lors d'une précédente session, lors de la 38e session du comité du patrimoine mondial, puisqu'il a fait l'objet d'un projet de décision de rapporter à cette session du comité. Le projet de décision qui vous est soumis est à la page 71 en anglais et à la page 74 en français. Je vous remercie, Madame la Présidente, et vous l'avez dit, l'ICOMOS souhaiterait prendre la parole. Merci, Madame la Présidente.
Before ICOMOS, I would like to give the floor to Madame Rössler.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair. Just a small clarification to the intervention by the delegate of Lebanon. The case of Venice was before in front of this committee in 1989, but also in 2014, because the committee in 2014 dispatched actually the reactive monitoring mission, which is now, the report is now in front of you. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Madame Rössler. ICOMOS, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Venice was inscribed not just as a city, but as a city spread over many islands around the lagoon, exemplifying its role as a trading state at the head of the Adriatic. In 2014, the committee raised concerns on infrastructure projects and on the ramifications of the very high levels of tourism that create problems from motorboats, large cruise ships, and so on, all of which were having potential impacts on the hydrogeological balance of the lagoon. The reactive monitoring mission was undertaken in October 2015 to consider these issues, and the outcome of the mission was very clear. Although considerable progress has been made by the state party to develop a management plan and put in place a steering committee, the potential threats to the property from the many proposed large-scale developments, deep water navigation channels, new port terminals, and so on, were considerable, and if all implemented, could lead to irreversible changes to the relationship between the city and its lagoon. The developments could in effect lead to a complete overexploitation of the lagoon's cultural and natural resources. As for the city, the issue is overexploitation by tourism, and this could lead to substantive loss of authenticity and integrity in both material and immaterial terms. In the way the city is used, a decline in the resilience of the communities that live and work in the city. And interestingly, this is summed up very succinctly in the management plan, which sets out the threats. The mission concluded that both the authenticity and integrity were highly vulnerable. How to deal with such a multiplicity of interrelated issues is by no means easy, nor will it be quick. It will need a fundamental reassessment of approaches that go beyond technicalities and planning, What is needed is a new vision for the overall city and its lagoon. The recommendations put forward in the draft decision include halting new projects, prohibiting large ships and tankers, and undertaking an immediate review of planning structures and reviewing the management plan, as well as revising the buffer zone. And the mission has provided detailed recommendations for each of these broad themes and the underlying causes, the lack of strategic approaches to planning, tourism, and the overall use and conservation of the lagoon. Are the recommendations enough? The decision recommends 1 year is given to see if urgent action can be taken and to review the situation again at the next committee if inadequate measures have been taken by that time. Thank you.
Thank you very much. The floor is open for the comments of the members of the committee. Representative of Kuwait, you have the floor, sir.
في البداية شكرا سعادة الرئيسة. طبعا الكل يعلم أن المدينة البندقية هي مدينة مهمة للعالم أجمع، ونحن بثقة في الحكومة الإيطالية وعمل الوفد الإيطالي أيضا لكثير من المساعدات للدول الأخرى، فهي جديرة بإعطاء الحلول للقضاء أو الاستمرار في الإجراءات لحماية هذه المدينة. فأتمنى يتم توجيه سؤال للوفد الإيطالي بالناحية مختصرة ما هي الإجراءات التي قامت بها إيطاليا. شكرا.
Thank you very much, Mr. Ambassador. No more requests for the floor. Representative of Azerbaijan.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair. We share the concerns of the advisory body regarding this size, and we strongly believe that the clear and fair balance between the tourism and development dimension from one side and conservation dimension from another side should be kept and followed. Having said that, we would like to mention the active and efficient involvement of the state party in UNESCO activities, including 1972 Convention. We believe that the state party has a technical and scientific competence in the sphere of conservation of cultural heritage. We would like also to mention the active role of the state party in the framework of the Group of Friends of Unite for Heritage campaign. We think that the state party will closely cooperate with the World Heritage Center and the advisory body in order to mitigate all negative concerns on this matter, because Venice is one of the symbols of our convention. Thank you very much, Madam Chair.
Thank you very much. Representative of Portugal.
Thank you very much. Very briefly, and in line with what I said previously, this is again a case that is very similar, albeit different, from the ones we've been addressing, where there is this tension between economic development and preservation and conservation. We know the commitment of the Italian authorities at different levels to heritage protection. So we trust that they will take this situation as seriously as necessary, and that the corrective measures will be in place very soon. And we support the draft decision which has been presented by Lebanon, thanking the delegate of Lebanon again for bringing this case to our attention. Thank you.
Mr. Ambassador, thank you very much. I give the floor to the representative of Vietnam.
Thank you very much, Madam Chairperson. Venice is a very beautiful city and dear to every one of us. That's why Vietnamese delegations also expressed deep concerns about the combination of construction and transformation that have already occurred in the settlements of the historic city of Venice, together with the proposed major development projects around the lagoons, including an airport extension, dredging a new deep water navigation waterways, new port terminals, and ongoing conversions of buildings for tourism purposes, which have the capacity to irreversibly damage the OEV of the property. despite the fact that the Venice authorities recognize the importance of the issues and has taken some measures to deal with the issues. We believe that many more solutions must be found to ensure the OEV of the property and mitigate the impact of these problems. Therefore, we support the current draft decisions. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Representative of Tunisia.
Merci, Madame la Présidente. Je voudrais m'associer à tous ceux qui ont éprouvé le besoin de formuler l'engagement de l'État partie italien par rapport à la bonne tenue dans la conservation de ces monuments et par rapport à l'aide qu'il présente à certains pays, notamment méditerranéens et d'ailleurs, pour la conservation et la sauvegarde de ce monument et de ce site. Évidemment, Venise, comme ça a été dit, est un joyau pour le patrimoine mondial, mais aussi, nous pouvons remarquer qu'il y a quand même une certaine... on pourrait être inquiet par rapport à une certaine régression dans la bonne tenue de cette lagune et de sa spécificité mondiale. Toutefois, je remarque que certaines mesures ne sont pas difficiles à prendre. Si je prends par exemple la limitation de vitesse ou l'interdiction d'accès aux bateaux, aux grands bateaux, aux pétroliers, etc. Je pense que avec les compétences qu'a l'Italie, ces mesures peuvent être effectivement appliquées sans gros efforts. Par conséquent, autant je m'associe à la nécessité d'attirer l'attention de l'État partie à dépasser tous ces problèmes, j'aimerais proposer pour le paragraphe 10 de proposer de revoir cette décision, de le mettre en péril plutôt pour la 42e session 2018 et non pas pour la 41e session 2017, pour donner l'occasion à l'État partie de résoudre et de répondre positivement aux différentes recommandations du comité. Merci.
Thank you very much. Representative of Croatia.
Thank you, Madam Chair. As this is the first time I'm taking the floor, I would like to greet you on the behalf of the Croatian delegation. We are sharing also deeply concerns like the previous speakers and experts with this, all the things stated in the draft recommendation for this emblematic World Heritage. But to be very short, we would also like to hear from the state party what are they undertaking in the following of those recommendations, and first of all, some plans, short-term plans that they are going to take in this regard. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Representative of Peru.
Muchas gracias, señora presidenta. Creo que las intervenciones que me han precedido permiten establecer dos cuestiones de manera muy objetiva. La primera, que Venecia es uno de los sitios del patrimonio mundial más emblemáticos, se ha dicho que es una joya. La segunda objetividad es que las joyas se cuidan y en ese sentido creo que resulta claro a partir del informe y la evaluación de ICOMOS de la misión que visitó el bien y de las recomendaciones establecidas, que existen serios problemas en la gestión y en la afectación del valor universal del bien. Nosotros consideramos que es indispensable que se puedan ejecutar las recomendaciones, especialmente las vinculadas a la elaboración y ejecución de una estrategia global y una estrategia de turismo sostenible, y a la suspensión de las autorizaciones para proyectos nuevos mientras no se haga una evaluación final del plan de acción y el Estado parte pueda proporcionar las informaciones que se le ha solicitado conforme al párrafo 172 de las directivas operativas. En ese contexto, nosotros tenemos plena confianza en que las autoridades de Venecia y las autoridades del gobierno central de Italia adoptarán en el futuro había una interferencia, señora presidenta, y dejé de hablar porque no puede ser posible que mientras una delegación habla, en la sala se produce otro tipo de diálogos orales que impide la intervención normal en el curso de la sesión, así que voy a esperar que se terminen los diálogos informales para poder continuar con mi intervención.
May I ask the delegates to continue their bilateral discussions outside the room, please? Please, Mr. Ambassador, you may continue.
Muchas gracias, señora presidenta. Para terminar muy brevemente, señalaba que con base a las decisiones, acciones legislativas de orden administrativo y de voluntad política que adopte el Estado parte, podremos enfrentar positivamente los peligros que afectan al BUE de Venecia, y en ese sentido mi delegación respalda el proyecto de decisión tal como está redactado y ha sido presentado por ICOMOS. Gracias, señora presidenta.
Thank you very much, Mr. Ambassador. I give the floor to the representative of Poland.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Poland joins others in comments for work done so far by the State Party of Italy and its commitment, but at the same time we share concerns expressed by distinguished delegates from various countries. Poland fully supports the draft decision as it was prepared for the committee session. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Representative of Turkey, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Together with the International Heritage Community, Turkey acknowledges that Venice and its lagoons is among those World Heritage Sites that suffer most from the difficulties of managing a heritage of outstanding natural and cultural value, which is at the same time a global tourism destination. Since its inscription in the World Heritage List, Venice has raised concerns due to its extreme vulnerability to the effects of mass events, alongside those of gradually intensifying cultural tourism, and heavy maritime traffic passing through the lagoon is an added difficulty and risk. Turkey shares the concerns of the advisory bodies and other state parties over the extent and scale of the infrastructure, navigation and construction projects on the agenda for Venice due to the risk of jeopardizing the outstanding universal value of the property. Yet we would also like to commend the efforts of the state party, which have found considerable budgetary support to develop a range of mechanisms to safeguard Venice and its expansive lagoon landscape through more than 1,500 projects, and these range, as we know, between establishing measures to mitigate the traffic of large cruise ships and heritage impact assessments, which is very important, to building scale implementations. And in all, these recent initiatives that aim to sustainabilize tourism in the area, building on the values of the site while preserving and enhancing them, constitute a unique challenge undertaken by the state party and the international heritage community at large. We therefore would like to encourage the committee to grant more time to the state party for reporting on expected progress in implementing all these urgent measures highlighted in the joint reactive monitoring mission. We observe that these recommendations are comprehensive enough to match the mission statements for properties on the list of danger, and we sincerely hope that the state party would be able to make and report considerable convincing progress soon without raising a need for considering danger listing the property in the coming years. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Representative of Finland.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just shortly to thank the delegate from Lebanon for opening this case and to support what was previously said by Vietnam and Portugal and others. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I see no more requests from the members of the committee. Representative of Lebanon.
Merci, Madame la Présidente. Tout d'abord, je reconnais m'être trompé. Effectivement, le cas de Venise a été présenté en 2014. C'est très intéressant d'ailleurs, puisque la proposition, le draft resolution en 2014, se terminait en disant qu'on demande à l'État partie de présenter un rapport pour examen par les organes consultatifs et le secrétariat, dans la vue d'inscrire Venise sur la liste du patrimoine en danger en 2016. Bien. Évidemment, des tas de quelques États partis, comme aujourd'hui, on dit mais non, il faut laisser du temps à l'État parti, peut-être qu'il ne faut pas adopter ça. Et donc, la décision a été adoptée en supprimant l'idée, en supprimant le paragraphe qui dit qu'on demande à l'État parti de donner un rapport en vue, si les dangers existent, d'inscrire Venise en 2016. Aujourd'hui, on recommence. De nouveau, on dit on va donner à l'État parti 2 ans pour machin. Et après quoi? 2 ans, après 2 ans, après 2 ans, après 2 ans, la situation ne s'améliore pas, les choses deviennent difficiles. L'inscription sur la liste en péril n'est pas une chose terrible. L'idée de l'inscription sur la liste en péril, c'est dire que l'UNESCO et le comité reconnaissent qu'il y a danger. Et après, on demande à l'État parti de prendre les mesures pour lever le danger. C'est tout simple. On ne peut pas continuer à chaque fois à dire on va encore donner 2 ans, puis 2 ans, puis 2 ans, puis 2 ans. C'est irresponsable. Ce serait de notre part totalement irresponsable. Les gens qui aiment le patrimoine de Venise doivent reconnaître que ce patrimoine est en danger. Point. Merci.
Thank you very much. I see no more requests from the member countries, so I may invite the state party to reply to the comments of the member countries. Italy, you have the floor.
Merci, Madame la Présidente. Je remercie tout d'abord les comités pour l'attention qu'il a voulu réserver à Venise, car cette ville, comme a été souligné, est pour l'UNESCO ainsi que pour l'Italie le symbole majeur de l'engagement collectif sur les valeurs universelles à la base de la Convention. Je saisis l'occasion pour remercier aussi les délégations qui se sont exprimées. L'Italie a dédié constamment à ces sites des grandes ressources humaines, financières, scientifiques et techniques. Et ceci depuis bien avant l'inscription dans la liste du patrimoine et avant même l'adoption de la Convention. Nous avons, Madame la Présidente, nous avons la volonté et les capacités d'assurer la sauvegarde du patrimoine culturel. Et je cite le cas de Pompéi, mais je cite aussi les actions poursuivies par l'Italie avec conviction et engagement à tous les niveaux, comme témoigné par l'initiative Unie pour le patrimoine. La sauvegarde du patrimoine culturel, Madame la Présidente, est tout d'abord un devoir éthique et moral qui doit engager chacun des membres de la communauté internationale. Le gouvernement italien veut confirmer aujourd'hui sa pleine volonté de poursuivre dans la mise en œuvre de recommandations contenues dans le rapport. Nous sommes en mesure d'assurer d'ores et déjà que les activités de mise en œuvre de recommandations ont commencé avant même la connaissance du rapport. Un mécanisme national de coordination est déjà mis en place pour exécuter une stratégie intégrée et partagée de gestion du site. Des ressources financières ont été allouées par le ministère de la Culture pour une étude d'évaluation de l'impact sur le patrimoine. Et encore, le même ministère présentera le 27 juillet prochain le plan national du tourisme ciblé sur les principes de soutenabilité et de redistribution du flux touristique sur les territoires. Ce sont là, bien sûr, des indications préliminaires qui feront partie d'un rapport exhaustif que notre gouvernement présentera au comité dans les mois à venir comme requis par les projets de décision qui pourra être adoptés aujourd'hui. Et je remercie pour l'attention.
I thank the State Party for their presentation. Now I would like to give the floor to one of our observer NGO, Europa Nostra is asking for. You have the floor.
I am the representative of Europa Nostra, the European Federation of Cultural Heritage Organizations, which maintains close and fruitful relations with the European Union and UNESCO. We are fully aware that the city of Venice and its lagoon is of priceless value for Europe and the world, but continues to face serious threats for its present and its future. The city of, as you know, Europa Nostra, together with the European Investment Bank Institute, declared on 16 March 2016 that the Venice Lagoon is the most endangered site in Europe. Consequently, we are pleased to forward to UNESCO a document prepared by our founding member organization, Italia Nostra, summarizing the many threats and challenges with which the Venice Lagoon is confronted today. For all these reasons, we are convinced that also UNESCO should urgently put Venice and its lagoon on the list of World Heritage in danger. However, Europa Nostra, together with its Italian member organizations, Italia Nostra and Fondo Ambiente Italiano, wishes to express its understanding for and support to the considerations and recommendations contained in the report on the state of conservation of Venice, prepared by the World Heritage Center. Together with UNESCO, we wish to launch a renewed appeal to Italian authorities to urgently adopt the necessary measures for the safeguard of the city and its lagoon. We indeed keep the hope that Italian authorities at all levels, with due involvement of civil society, will adopt without further delay a bold and radical plan for the safeguard of the most beautiful city in the world. We are convinced that Italy, with the collaboration of EU and UN institutions, is ready to live up to this historical responsibility. Europa Nostra and other international and natural heritage and environmental NGOs concerned stand at the entire disposal of UNESCO and the Italian authorities to engage in a thorough consultation process for the sake of ensuring a more promising and sustainable future for Venice and its lagoon. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Representative of Tunisia, you have the floor.
Merci, Madame la Présidente. Je suis désolé de reprendre la parole pour la seconde fois, mais c'était tout juste pour lever une confusion qu'il y a eu dans ma tête par rapport à l'article 10. En fait, j'avais proposé d'examiner le dossier 2018. Je voulais dire d'examiner le dossier en 2017 et donc de m'inscrire totalement dans le projet de décision qui figure, qui est présenté à la Commission. Merci.
Thank you very much. Before moving to the adoption of our draft decision, I would like to give the floor to Assistant Director General, Mr. Bandarin. You have the floor.
Thank you, Madam Chairman, and apology for taking the floor on this matter. I will be brief. As some of you know, I am a citizen of Venice. This is the place where I was born, and this is my city. And as such, I should not dare making any comment because, as the proverb says, nemo profeta in patria. Nobody is a prophet in its own country. However, as I wear the hat of the UNESCO cultural sector, I would like to provide you with some comments on the role that UNESCO has played during the past 50 years for the safeguarding of this exceptional heritage. This is 50 years. It's the time that has gone by since the Great Flood, November 4, 1966. I was then a young man. I remember very well the tragedy that we faced. I remember the violent storm that hit the area for 24 hours, the surge of the sea that broke the historical barriers and forced the water into the lagoon, flooding the city and threatening its very survival. I think we really faced a very, very serious danger at that time, but we were also lucky because at some point the wind changed direction and the water slowly receded. After this narrowly avoided disaster, the people of Venice and the people of Italy, massively supported by the world's public opinion, raised their voice, and a major safeguarding program spearheaded by UNESCO, largely financed and implemented by the Italian government and supported by many international organizations and committees, was launched. Venice became one of the symbols of the international cooperation for heritage preservation, a star of the UNESCO constellation of safeguarding campaigns, one of the 30 and over 30 that were launched in the 1960s and 70s and 80s. So since 50 years, UNESCO has maintained an office for Venice. This is the unique case in our history. And this office still operates today within our regional office for culture in Europe, which is based in Venice. For Venice, all along these years, UNESCO has promoted and accompanied thousands of activities in collaboration with public and private partners, such as the international committees for Venice, the national and local governments, academic institutions, NGOs. UNESCO has overlooked the implementation of very important intervention for the safeguarding of the city. 50 years on, if we look at the results of these efforts, you can see that a lot has been done. Most of Venice's historic and artistic heritage and the built fabric has been restored and preserved, that its environmental problems have been studied, partially addressed, and that a major project to protect the city against the force of the sea is about to be completed. However, we also see that new threats are rising, to counter which there has been so far no adequate planning and response, as you have seen in the report, and it has been stressed also during our discussion. Ladies and gentlemen, there is a risk. Venice seems to have lost its capacity to define its future and can become easily the prey of sectorial interests. May they be called mass tourism, the harbor economy, the airport, boat and ship traffic, exploitation of the natural environment. A number fully epitomizes the situation. Last year, the city received over 25 million visitors. On an average day in the spring or summer, you can have over 100,000 visitors in a city that has now 50,000 registered residents. Is this a fate? Is Venice doomed to become just a tourist village? Surely the population of Venice has declined to an historical minimum, and the local powers seem unable to cope with the new challenges. Surely the global trends, climatic, economic, demographic, could make the situation even worse in the future. This is why it is again time for the international community that you represent in this moment, obviously jointly with the government of Italy and the city and the national and international NGOs that are concerned for its future, to help Venice finding its direction for the future, defining the limits that have to be set to prevent further degradation of its social and physical fabric, identifying the proper system of governance that can ensure in the long term the survival of what we all agree is among the highest achievements of the human civilization. Let me close by saying that UNESCO is ready to play its role. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Van der Rijn, for your very interesting and comprehensive presentation. I have been informed that our rapporteur didn't receive any amendment on this draft decision. So if there is no objection, I see none, I declare decision 40Com 7B 52 adopted. Now I would like to invite Mrs. Anatole Gabriel to present the report on the state of conservation of the cultural properties located in Europe and North America region and open for discussion. You have the floor.
Merci Madame la Présidente. Le bien suivant est Auschwitz-Birkenau, camp allemand nazi de concentration et d'extermination 1940-1945, Pologne. Le rapport sur l'état de conservation du bien Auschwitz-Birkenau en Pologne se trouve dans le document 7B à la page 94 en anglais et 97 en français. Des informations additionnelles ont été envoyées par l'État partie au Centre du patrimoine mondial le 30 juin 2016 à la suite de la publication du document 7B55 dans sa version anglaise. L'État partie rappelle la transmission régulière au Centre du patrimoine mondial pour examen par les organismes consultatifs des rapports sur l'état de conservation du bien, ainsi que sur la mise en œuvre des décisions et des recommandations du Comité du patrimoine mondial prises lors de ses précédentes sessions. À cet égard, l'État partie a soulevé la question de l'adéquation d'une mission de suivi réactif qui est proposée dans le projet de décision dans sa version anglaise. Le secrétariat souligne par conséquent l'absence de concordance entre les versions anglaises et françaises du paragraphe 11 du projet de décision du document 7B55. Sur la base des informations additionnelles envoyées par l'État partie, en vue également de corriger cette absence de concordance, le secrétariat propose au rapporteur d'amender le projet de décision 7B55 dans sa version anglaise afin de remplacer la mission de suivi réactif par une mission de conseil ICOMOS sur le bien. Le projet de décision vous est soumis à la page 96 en anglais et à la page 99 en français. Merci Madame la Présidente.
Thank you very much. Representative of ICOMOS will not speak. Okay. I would like to give the floor to our rapporteur to present the draft decision.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair. Could we switch the screens, please? Thank you. Just an amendment in the English version of the draft decision, and we replace the World Heritage Center ICOMOS reactive mission, monitoring mission, to an ICOMOS advisory mission to the property, and that conforms together with the French version. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. If there is no objection on the amendment, I declare decision 40Com 7B55 adopted as amended. For our next report, I would like to give the floor again to the delegation of Azerbaijan to present to the committee the reason why it requested to open the state of conservation report on Kiev, St. Sophia Cathedral and related monastic buildings, Kiev, Pechersk, Lavra, Ukraine. You have the floor.
Thanks, Madam Chair. Since the first day of committee meeting, we were provided with some new printed information by State Party of Ukraine about St. Sophia Cathedral and related monastic buildings, Kiev, Pechersk, Lavra. It gave us possibility to adjust small amendments in the draft of decisions. Thanks to undertaken efforts of the State Party for regulation, preservation and construction issues as the site area and the buffer zone. As was underlined into the paragraph 4 of the draft decision, 2 upper stories of the building was already demolished. We fully hope that State Party of Ukraine will invite the joint mission as it kindly requested in the draft decision by the World Heritage Center, and we welcome the fact of mentioned plan we will be prepared in close cooperation with World Heritage Center and ICOMOS, in line with previous decision of World Heritage Committee. We believe that we cannot prejudge outcomes of the reactive monitoring mission, and therefore we are not in favor of keeping reference to possible inscription of the property into the list of World Heritage in danger. Thanks, Madam Chair.
Thank you very much. I would like to invite Mrs. Anatole Gabriel and later ICOMOS, whether they have any further comments on this.
Merci Madame la Présidente. Je vais faire rapport des nouvelles informations qui sont parvenues au Centre du patrimoine mondial sur ce bien. Donc, le rapport sur l'état de conservation de la cathédrale Sainte-Sophie et ensemble des bâtiments monastiques et l'or de Kievo-Pechersk en Ukraine se trouve dans le document 7BA à la page 72 en anglais et 76 en français. Après la publication du rapport sur l'état de conservation, le Centre du patrimoine mondial a reçu le 1er juillet de nouvelles informations de l'État partie portant sur le plan d'activité de réhabilitation de la cour du monastère et fournissant des explications sur ces activités de réhabilitation. Ces informations ont été transmises très récemment à l'ICOMOS. Il est à noter également qu'une étude technique de l'ICOMOS portant sur le projet de réparation et de la restauration des murs de la réserve nationale Sainte-Sophie-Kiev, communiquée par l'État partie au Centre du patrimoine mondial au cours des premiers mois de l'année, a été transmise à l'État partie, donc je parle de l'étude technique de l'ICOMOS, a été transmise à l'État partie le 22 juin. Enfin, le Centre du patrimoine mondial a reçu de très nombreuses informations de la société civile faisant état de leurs inquiétudes sur l'état de conservation du bien au regard des décisions antérieures du comité. Le projet de décision vous est soumis à la page 73 en anglais et 72 en français. Je vous remercie, Madame la Présidente.
Thank you very much, representative of ICOMOS.
Thank you, Madam Chair. The Statement of Outstanding Universal Value for the property indicates in relation to integrity, and I am quoting, "Rapid urban development, particularly from high-rise buildings, and the lack of protection and planning mechanisms can threaten the immediate surroundings of the property. The integrity of the property in terms of spatial links between its components and their relationships with the surrounding urban and monastic river landscape also requires a structured planning to address any potential threat." Following a reactive monitoring mission in 2013 and subsequent resolutions by the committee, the State Party has made progress, but has not yet finalised the management plan for the property and has demolished or reduced in height some, but not all, of the non-conforming intrusive buildings in the buffer zone of the property. For example, the State Party did not report on any measures undertaken to reduce the adverse effect of the property of the building on Klovsky descent, even though this has been repeatedly requested by the committee at previous sessions. There is also another dissonant and intrusive building on Gonchara Street within the buffer zone. While the achievements of the State Party should be acknowledged, it is also appropriate to reiterate the previous requests made to remove this adverse impact on the OUV of the property. In relation to the rehabilitation activities plan for the monastery courtyard, the need to ensure stability is recognised. But it is important that any works proposals be subject to a heritage impact assessment and that the potential effect on the outstanding universal value of the property be considered through referral of the project documentation and the heritage impact assessment to the World Heritage Centre and the advisory bodies. Other significant issues remain unresolved, such as advertising signs in the buffer zone. There is a gradual process of change to the scale and traditional fabric within the buffer zone because the surrounding precinct lacks adequate legal protection and planning mechanisms. This dynamic process of progressive change to the scale and character of the setting threatens the outstanding universal value of the property. A reactive monitoring mission is warranted to consider these matters and protection and management of the property and the wider historic urban landscape. And it is also reasonable to provide clear indication to the State Party that if these significant matters are not addressed, the threats to the property which remain could potentially justify inclusion on the list of World Heritage in danger. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you very much. Any request from the members of the committee for the floor? So we can move to the adoption of our draft decision. Representative of Portugal, you have the floor, Mr. Ambassador.
Sorry, Madam. The floor is open for comments. That's what I'm... Oh, okay. Well, very briefly, and just a general comment. And I thank ICOMOS. It already answered the questions that I wanted to place, which is to what extent would or would not these latest pieces of information alter the proposal. I think I got a clear answer to that. So my only remark at this stage is, again, to insist on the coherence of our approach to all these issues. We had Liverpool, we had Lahore, we had Vienna, we had Venice, and now we have Sofia. So I think it will be advisable, and it will go in the sense of the credibility of this committee, that we do not pick and choose or apply double standards. We treat them all the same way. Thank you, Madam.
Thank you very much, Mr. Ambassador. I see no more requests for the floor from the members of the committee. So I see that the state party is asking for the floor. Representative of Ukraine, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam Chair and the members of the committee, to the possibility to take the floor and to express the position of Ukraine. We share the concern of the World Heritage Center that the construction activities within the property's buffer zone are not properly regarded. The current use of the buffer zone caused a range of problems. That's why the Ministry of Ukraine developed a draft law on the moratorium on the construction activities. With the buffer zone of the World Heritage properties. Such moratorium has been already implemented by the Kyiv local authorities. As to construction work in Kyiv-Pechersk-Lavra territory, I'd like to draw your attention to the fact that in spring 2011, the snow melting caused a landslide that threatened the conservation of the historical buildings. Thus, it was decided to renovate the lost buildings, which foundations served as retaining walls. I'd like to note that World Heritage Center and ICOMOS representatives were acquainted with the rehabilitation activities program for the monastery economic courtyard during their visit to Ukraine in 2013 and 2014. So the rehabilitated buildings had no objection. The same information was transmitted to UNESCO World Heritage Center in 2015 as a part of the National Annual Report. It should be underlined that the reconstructed buildings don't affect the outstanding universal value of the property. Ukraine is ready to receive a joint reactive mission. We are convinced that before the visit to the mission and presentation of an updated report of the state party, it's premature and not justified to prejudge the outcome of the mission and anticipate negative conclusion of the committee. Thank you for attention, and one word from our deputy head of Kyiv, please.
Madam Chair, I'm a deputy mayor of Kyiv City, and let me note is the first time Kyiv City authorities report with the results, but not with the promises before the committee. Firstly, Kyiv has completed with the previous committee's decision, 2 floors of the dissonance building on Desetiny Lane were demolished. Now I will report about the other dissonant building in the buffer zone, St. Sophia Cathedral. Here I talk about the 41-meter high-rise building on Hanchara Street. The Kyiv City Council now consider giving the developer a monthly period for lowering the height to 25 meters. Otherwise, the termination of the land lease will be commenced. Let me assure you that Kyiv City authorities make complex decisions to protect the historical and cultural heritage and meet all requirements of UNESCO. We hope for your wise and fair decision. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you very much. Representative of Turkey, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Madam Chair, we find it encouraging, the statement made by the Deputy Mayor of Kiev, and we appreciate State Party's efforts towards progress in regard to management plan, which is currently in its final stage. Furthermore, we also support the efforts to reduce the height limits of the non-conforming buildings in the buffer zone. However, some new constructions which are in sight may still further undermine the OUV of the property. We realize the State Party is committed and very cautious about these things. Therefore, we would be inclined to support the amendments that are proposed. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you very much. I see no more requests for the floor, so I invite you to adopt the draft decision 40.7B61. Mrs. Rapporteur, have you received any amendments? Could you please present them? Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chair. For this draft decision of the City of Kiev, we have received 2 amendments. One is from Azerbaijan and one is from Vietnam. The first amendment that takes place in paragraph 4 actually is in conflict because the very first part of the amendment is both supported by the 2 states parties that proposed the amendment, but the end part is a bit different. So I will read out paragraph 4. Also takes note of the efforts undertaken by the state party which resulted in the demolition of 2 floors of the new building at Desyatny Lane, excuse my pronunciation, 3 to 5 in the buffer zone of one of the components of the property, namely St. Sophia Cathedral. Azerbaijan proposes to delete the rest of the sentence, whereas Vietnam would continue on and reiterates its request to the state party to further reduce the adverse effect of the dissonant building on Honchara Street, 17 to 23, in the buffer zone of St. Sophia Cathedral by means of demolishing the already constructed stories to the level of neighboring historical buildings. So this is paragraph 4. We need to make a decision between the 2 options. We move down to paragraph 8, and this is a proposition sponsored both by the Azerbaijan and Vietnamese proposals. Further requests the state party to invite a joint World Heritage Center ECOMOS reactive monitoring mission to the property to assess its current conditions, to discuss all sensitive issues regarding the protection of the historic urban landscape of the city of Kiev, including a reinforcement of the management system, and to assist with the finalization of the management plan in line with the decisions of the World Heritage Committee and in accordance with the World Heritage Convention. The last amendment takes place in the last paragraph, where we delete the last part of the sentence with a view to considering, in the case of confirmation of the ascertained or potential danger to the OUV, the possible inscription of the property on the list of World Heritage in danger. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you very much. I propose that we may adapt the paragraphs that in each paragraph, starting from the first one, and to leave the one with 2 options at the end of our debate. Let me see. Paragraph 1, no objection, adopted. Paragraph 2, no objection, adopted. Paragraph 3, no objection, adopted. Let's see paragraph 5. No objection, adopted. Excuse me. Representative of Portugal, you have this floor, Mr. Ambassador.
Thank you. But there was paragraph 4, the issue of the conflict there. You have to roll it up, paragraph 4. Okay.
Okay,
Yeah,
if you
there's
prefer
well,
to
let me
deal
gi-
with the paragraph 4, I was planning to leave the paragraph at the end of all paragraphs to discuss and for the discussion and the comments.
Well, I'm in your hands, as long as I have
Okay,
the chance to say
let's,
what I have
let's
to say.
come to paragraph 4 then, Ambassador, as you requested. On paragraph 4, we have two options. The floor is open for the comments of the members of the committee.
Thank you very much. Sorry if I was at the origin of any confusion. Now, on paragraph 4, I can live with the first alteration, which takes note of the efforts undertaken by the state party, which resulted in blah, blah, blah. And then when we get to the contradiction, then I think the best way to settle it is to come back to the original phrasing, otherwise we'll be in for a drafting exercise that will take some time. So I think roughly they say the same thing. So if we come back to the original draft, we would solve the problem. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Representative of Finland.
Thank you, Madam. Just to fully support what was said by Portugal. Thank you.
So I ask Azerbaijan and Vietnam if they can live with the proposal of Portugal.
Thanks, Madam Chair. We have the copy of the letter which was provided to the World Heritage Center by the Ministry of Culture of Ukraine, and where we have this building is not existed in buffer zone.
Representative of Peru, you have the floor.
Muchas gracias, señora presidenta. Creo que su propuesta de ver este párrafo al final del texto era correcta. Si el edificio no existe en la zona de amortiguamiento, entonces no podemos mantener la redacción que estaba por hacer el consenso. Lo que yo plantearía es que veamos, como usted había dicho, el resto de párrafos y volvamos a este párrafo y en el intermedio la Secretaría nos pueda indicar exactamente cuál es la situación fáctica de la ubicación de los edificios. Muchas gracias, señora presidenta.
Thank you. So we may continue with paragraph 5 now to give time to the interested parties to reach a compromise solution for paragraph 4. Paragraph 5, is there any objection? I see none. Adopted. Paragraph 6, I see no objection. Adopted. Paragraph 7, I see no objection. Adopted. Paragraph 8, as amended. Is there any objection? I see not. Ambassador of Portugal, you have the floor.
I can live with this, but with the last alteration, in line with the decisions of the World Heritage Committee and in accordance with the World Heritage Convention. Well, we do take our decisions in accordance with the convention, I suppose. Anyway, it's nice in terms of style, but it's nothing more. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I ask Azerbaijan and Vietnam if they prefer to keep this line or deletion of this line is acceptable for them also. Vietnam, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam Chair. The amendment of Vietnam is just to improve in terms of linguistic, because if you read the first part is to invite the Joint World Heritage Center e-commerce reactive monitoring mission to the property to assess its current conditions, to discuss all sensitive issues. So what is the point when you mention again with whether its property is faced with a threat that could be deleterious, things like that. If we add that, we can add many things else. So that's not redundant, that's number one. Number two, we put another, it's a plea that in line with decision by World Heritage Committee and in accordance with World Heritage Convention. So anything in line with that, we can go along. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you very much. Azerbaijan.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair. Actually, the logic behind why we proposed the same language is the same. It's to give the framework of the coming mission. Otherwise, the proposal is acceptable for us as well. Thank you.
Representative of Peru.
Muchas gracias, señora presidenta. Es un problema de estilo antes que de fondo y la delegación, el señor embajador del Portugal, nos recordaba que no tendría inconveniente en finalmente aceptar la redacción como estaba y luego de las dos explicaciones creo que podríamos aprobar el párrafo 8 enmendado originalmente. Gracias, señora presidenta.
Thank you. Distinguished colleagues, may I ask if there is any strong opposition to the amendments that we see on the screen? I see none, so I declare it is adopted as amended. Paragraph 9. Any objection as amended? Representative of Portugal, Ambassador, you have the floor.
Well, Madam Speaker, Madam President, this is the operative, fundamental operative decision of this. So I'd rather say what I think about this amendment when I know the result of paragraph 4. But we're still waiting for the clarification there. Thank you.
Thank you. Then paragraph 9 is open until we conclude our discussions on paragraph 4. Do we have any wording for paragraph 4? May I ask our rapporteur?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just to clarify, I think the matter that the distinguished delegate from Azerbaijan raised was the phrasing of the buffer zone part. And if we actually keep the original draft as the distinguished delegate of Portugal has suggested, it just mentions high-rise building on Klovsky descent by demolishing the already constructed levels to an appropriate scale without any mention of the buffer zone in this part. So I was wondering if we could just adopt the original draft rather than going for the amended version. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Azerbaijan, you have the floor.
Thank you very much. I think we can live with it. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you very much. So we go back to the original text. Can we see it on the screen? Yeah. Okay. If there is no objection, I declare paragraph 4 is adopted as amended. Then we may go to the last paragraph, operative 9. Is there any objection? Representative of Portugal, Ambassador, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam. Well, as I stated at the beginning, and I've been repeating this since yesterday, we must be careful in the way we treat situations which are essentially similar. So I would defend the logical outcome that we had for Liverpool, Lahore, Vienna, and Venice, that would have it here for Sofia too. So my preference goes to keeping the initial wording of the draft decision. I think it is written in very prudent terms, so it should be reassuring for the authorities in Sofia, because it says, with a view to considering, in the case of confirmation, the possible, that's very, very, it's put in very careful words. So I think it would not raise any problem, and it will keep us in line and in coherence with what we adopted in similar situations with which we dealt with before. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Representative of Philippines.
Thank you, Madam Chair. It is also the wish of my delegation that we retain the original paragraph. It is because of consistency reasons, and as mentioned also by the delegation of Portugal. Consistency because we have seen this particular phrase in the past in many of the other resolutions that we have approved. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Representative of Finland.
Thank you. Like the Portuguese ambassador, we also like to repeat ourselves, so it's just to say that we fully support the suggestion from Portugal, supported by the Philippines. Thank you.
Representative of Vietnam.
Madam Chair, I'm tremendously in my life by Marxist theory. He came up with a dialectical thinking, which means that we need to put everything in historical context before we put any judgment. Vietnam came up with the two amendments. The first one, we are ready to go along with the majority. The first one in the paragraph 4, we put that because we would like to acknowledge the efforts made by the state party. It's not very common that the state party listen to and implement immediately the committee decision. they decided to remove the 2 floors in the building. And secondly, they intended to bring down, to cut a story from 45 meters to 25 meters. This is a remarkable progress, but nevertheless, we can go along with the majority. Now, when it comes to the ninth paragraph, Vietnam has no problem in going along with the majority in saying that this is a formulate of standard words, any document. I think that you can go along with that, any standard document. But deep down, don't you think that the committee needs to have a word of appreciation to the state party for its courageous progress? I thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you very much. Representative of Peru.
Muchas gracias, señora presidenta. Yo quiero respaldar la reminiscencia al materialismo histórico que ha hecho la delegación del Vietnam, en el sentido que, más allá de una aproximación abstracta, nuestras decisiones siempre tienen que estar muy vinculadas a los hechos concretos, ¿no?, al daño que se ocasiona, al daño potencial, pero también al compromiso y sobre todo a las medidas que toman las autoridades para proteger y reparar situaciones que son graves. Y yo sí creo que es muy importante que autoridades locales y nacionales decidan demoler edificios. Hace unos minutos hemos señalado que la expansión del volumen y la dimensión del crecimiento urbano es quizás la mayor amenaza para el BUE de los centros históricos o de los edificios del patrimonio ubicados en áreas urbanas. Y creo que es realmente muy importante que estemos frente a un caso donde se decide demoler y donde cuando se le insta al Estado parte que hay que demoler más edificios, su respuesta es sí, que está dispuesto a demoler más edificios o reducir a través de decisiones coercitivas y obligatorias para las empresas, disminuir a un punto aceptable para el BUE. El Perú no tendría inconveniente en aceptar finalmente la redacción como está originalmente, pero sí nos parece, como lo ha dicho la delegación del Vietnam, que hay que reconocer los esfuerzos del Estado parte y de las autoridades locales. Gracias, señora presidenta.
Thank you very much. I see no more requests for the floor. Majority representative of Azerbaijan.
Thanks, Madam Chair. I would like, this is my first time in the committee, and I would like to, I checked all documentations, and of course the World Heritage Committee may have the list in Georgia, but I couldn't find any sentences in guidelines that we have to clarify and we have to notify country in advance that property will be included in the World Heritage List in danger.
Madam Röster, you have the floor.
Thank you very much. There are the provisions for danger listing, of course, in the operational guidelines. But here, with a view to considering, in the case of confirmation of the ascertained or potential danger to the OUV, the possible inscription, that's a practice of the committee, which you find in many, many decisions over the past years. And it's also in the drafting guidance, which we have put also on our webpage. So this is totally up to the committee, but it gives a warning to the state party to comply with the decisions of the committee and in view of actually avoiding the danger listing. This is totally up to the committee, but it has been done in many cases, as was pointed out by the Ambassador of Portugal. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Madam Rösler, for the clarification. Representative of Tanzania.
Thank you very much, Chair. Tanzania would also want to participate in this healthy discussion on this particular site. And as the other distinguished delegates have been talking about this original statement, Tanzania thinks it has been a practice, and we would want to go along with it. And within the procedure for putting sites on the danger list, there are procedures. And one of the procedures would be to start informing the state party on that intention, so that we prepare ourselves in case now things are getting worse. But I think in line with this original paragraph, maybe there should be an explanation why we are informing the state party. There should be other things going in line, particularly trying to get all the corrective measures so that we start preparing ourselves to put the site on the list in danger. I do understand the sentiments of the distinguished delegate from Vietnam and the other one, the Belgian one, and I think we could go with the original statement as a matter of trying to see that we are going into a situation which might put the site into danger list. So Tanzania would want to align with the original and would want to request the other delegates to take it positively. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Representative of Lebanon, you have the floor.
Merci, Madame la Présidente. Juste un point de principe. It is never written anywhere that putting a site in danger list, before putting a site in the danger list, we should inform or get the approval or I don't know what of the state party. It is not written anywhere. The committee can put a site on in danger list without informing the state party. The committee can delete a site from the list without informing the state party. We have done this very often during these committees, where sites were put on the in danger list without getting the approval of the state party, and sometimes without the state party knowing. I remember, for example, in Cologne, the draft decision was not proposing to put the site on the in danger list. And we decided for the site of Cologne immediately in the committee to put it in danger lists. The state party didn't know. He was not even aware that there could have been a decision about like this. This is a practice of the committee. The committee is sovereign, and this is very important. And any state party that inscribes a site on the list should know that the committee is sovereign. This is one of the obligations of the list. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Representative of Angola, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Angola would like to acknowledge the efforts of the state party with regards to this issue, but for consistency purposes and based on the issues that are yet to be resolved, we like to concur with the position from Portugal and also reiterate the comments from the Lebanon. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I see no Republic of Korea. You have the floor.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Republic of Korea joined our colleague of Portugal and Finland to keep the original draft. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I see no more. Representative of Lebanon, you have the floor.
Excuse me, Mrs. Chair. I forgot to say that we joined the consensus also.
Thank you very much. I see that the majority of the committee members are representative of Azerbaijan. You have the floor.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair. I just would like to mention that we are ready to go along with the consensus within the committee. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. So the majority is in favor of keeping the last part of the paragraph, the original text. There is no objection. I declare it is adopted. So we have concluded the paragraph. So I declare decision 40.7b 61 adopted as amended. For our next report, I would like to give the floor to the delegation of Poland to present to the committee the reason why it requested to open the State of Conservation report on ancient city of Torik Chersones and it is Kora, Ukraine. You have the floor, Madam Ambassador.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Poland asked for opening of this item for the plenary discussion because we were informed that new important information have been provided to the center by the state party, and we would like to ask you, Madam Chair, to give the floor to the state party to give it possibility to share with us updated information on current state of conservation of the site. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Now I would like to invite. No. Any comment from the members of the committee? I see none. So I invite State Party representative of Ukraine to take the floor.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I would like, first of all, to thank the delegation of Poland for initiating debate on this issue and introducing relevant amendments to the draft decision, which we fully share and support. We have circulated among the delegations of state members a letter of the Minister of Culture of Ukraine addressed to the Director of the World Heritage Center with the information available on the state of conservation of the property. I would ask the Secretary to make this information public. We appreciate the interest of this committee to this Ukrainian property. I would like to refer to the information provided and to say that according to the said information, after the illegal annexation of Crimea by the Russian Federation, this property is being constantly threatened. The Ukrainian party is completely removed from the management of the property. The Ukrainian National ICOMOS Committee presented some examples that indicate systemic abuse of some positions of nomination documentation, in particular alarming facts of violations of regime of use of protected areas and buffer zone. Under these circumstances, a constant and effective monitoring of the property by the WHC is badly needed. We welcome the initiative to send a reactive monitoring mission to the property. Ukraine will consider inviting such a mission as soon as the situation allows us. Taking it into account the property is situated in the occupied territory, we ask to explore the possibility of participation of experts from interested states, state parties in the mission to ensure its objective and unbiased character. We consider that the said mission as an integral part of the comprehensive monitoring activities envisaged by the UNESCO Executive Board decisions entitled Monitoring of the Situation in the Autonomous Republic of Crimea, Ukraine. We believe that the mission's report could be examined by the committee at one of its next sessions with a view to considering the possible inscription of the property on the list of World Heritage in Danger. We also request that the monitoring mission would pay adequate attention to other Ukrainian properties situated in the occupied Crimea, which are in the World Heritage Tentative List, namely the historical surroundings of Crimean Khan's capital in Bakhchisarai, cultural landscape of cave towns of Crimean Gothia, and complex of Sudak Fortis monuments. I thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Any request for the floor? I see no more requests for the floor. So we can move to the adoption of the draft decision 40Com 7B62 concerning this property. May I ask our rapporteur if she has received any amendment?
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. We have an amendment that has been submitted by Poland. The first amendment is to add a new paragraph 3, also recalling the UNESCO Executive Board decision 197 EX/52 and 199 EX/51.E. The rest of the decision reads the same as the original, and a new addition takes place in paragraph 8. A new para 8 is inserted, reiterates its stance that the only relevant official information provided by the state party and the joint World Heritage Center advisory body's reactive monitoring mission to the property can serve as the sole basis for assessment of the state of conservation of the property. That is these are the two amendments to the original draft decision. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Is there any objection? Representative of Portugal, you have the floor.
Well, Madam Speaker, it's not an objection, but it is drawing our collective attention to something which I believe can be slightly tricky. Whereas paragraph 3 suggested by Poland seems to me perfectly adequate. Actually, we normally recall relevant decisions. On paragraph 8, what it would amount to is that the assessment can only be based on information provided by the state party and by the monitoring mission. But can we do that? Can we reduce? I understand the aim of that, but can we reduce it? Say that in the assessment you can only have information that is provided by A, B, C, or D. Can we curtail the possibility of looking to other means of information? I think it is essentially a drafting problem, but it would be difficult for us to accept anything that limits from the start the possibility of having the widest information possible from all legitimate sources. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Representative of Peru.
Muchas gracias, señora presidenta. En la misma línea de reflexión de la delegación del Portugal, los criterios para la evaluación de la situación de los bienes inscritos en la lista del Patrimonio Mundial están en términos generales en la Convención y en términos más específicos en las directivas operacionales. Un párrafo de esta naturaleza significaría una modificación, por lo menos, de los textos aplicables de las directivas operacionales. Y creo que ya estaríamos hablando en ese caso de una decisión de otra naturaleza y de otro alcance. Por esta razón, la delegación del Perú preferiría quedarnos con la redacción original del proyecto de decisión preparado por el centro y el órgano consultivo. Gracias, señora presidenta.
Thank you very much. Representative of Finland, you have the floor.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair. Finland would like to join our voice to the proposal made by Poland and keep the para as it's been suggested by Poland. Thank you.
Thank you. Representative of Jamaica.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Jamaica also supports the position of Peru. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Representative of Portugal, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam. There's another slightly formal problem there, because it's the sentence starts by reiterates its stance. Where is this stance? Where is it in the text before? Because when one reiterates, one reaffirms something. So I think that's a formal problem, but I'm not sure I'm correct. Right now, perhaps the solution to move forward would be to delete the word "sole basis," and reading that modern republic can serve as the basis. Well, the basis is already something very, very fundamental. The problem is the sole basis actually excludes anything else, even eventually film, book, what have you, but a press article. So perhaps if we could, the public can serve as the basis for the assessment, then perhaps we could have a consensus there, and it would at least leave some degree of discretion to any assessment mission. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Representative of Angola.
Thanks, Madam Chair. We do understand the reasoning behind the proposal that is being made to include that specific paragraph, but as stated by other state parties, it's too limiting, and we run the risk of limiting the intervention to only to those bodies. So we would like really to propose to keep the original text and delete that paragraph. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Representative of Peru.
Me disculpo por tomar nuevamente la palabra, pero seré muy breve. Yo pienso que el asunto es bien complejo, aún desde el punto de vista jurídico, porque en extremo, si consideramos la propuesta para eliminar solo, ¿no?, aparecería como que la información del Estado parte es una obligación para los órganos consultivos en relación a elementos de juicio respecto de las evaluaciones. Y sabemos que eso no necesariamente es así. Pueden existir informaciones del Estado parte que el órgano consultivo y el centro consideran que no es relevante o que no es aplicable o que no constituye un elemento determinante en la evaluación de una situación determinada. Creo que si mantenemos una redacción en la que se dé casi el mismo valor a la información del Estado parte con la evaluación que hace el órgano consultivo, estaremos introduciendo variaciones muy sustantivas respecto del espíritu de la Convención y la letra de las directivas operacionales. En todo caso, sobre este punto específico, señora Presidenta, yo quisiera conocer la opinión de ICOMOS.
Representative of ICOMOS, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Apologies. We didn't quite hear the question that was posed to us. What was it? Thank you. Now we understand. ICOMOS and IUCN are currently somewhat concerned by the proposal in the amendments to this paragraph 8, because reports that are put to the committee from the advisory bodies and the World Heritage Centre are based on a wide variety of information from a wide variety of sources. And if this paragraph is accepted, it could set a precedent for other sites that only certain types of official information provided by the state party are relevant in providing reports to the committee. And we would think this would be extremely limiting if it were accepted.
Thank you very much. Representative of Kazakhstan.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair. We think that there is no need to add additional paragraph to the draft decision. We think that everything is already there in the operational guidelines, in the naming of the property, and in view of what has been just said by ICOMOS representative, we find this paragraph redundant in this draft decision, and we would like to have it deleted. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Representative of Tanzania.
Madam Chair, following the clarification from ICOMOS, we are also joining other member to delete this paragraph. We think it is really redundant.
Thank you very much. Representative of Croatia.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Sorry for waiting. We would like to join the others after having heard the explanation from the distinguished representative of ICOMOS. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Representative of Cuba.
Gracias, señora Presidenta. Nosotros también, tras la explicación del órgano consultivo, nos sumamos a la idea de suprimir el párrafo. Gracias.
Thank you very much. I see that there is a consensus to delete, the majority in favor of deletion of this amendment. So it is adopted. The deletion is adopted. And can we go back and look at the draft decision 40.7b 62 as amended in general? Is there any objection? I see no objection. I declare decision 40.7b 62 adopted as amended. I would like to invite Mrs. Anatole Gabriel to read the list of the cultural properties inscribed on the World Heritage List and located in the Europe and North America region, for which the reports are proposed for adoption without discussion. You have the floor.
Merci Madame la Présidente. La liste est la suivante. La vieille ville de Dubrovnik en Croatie, Westware corallingien et Civitas de Corvée en Allemagne, l'isthme de Courlande, Lituanie et Fédération de Russie,
la contrée naturelle et culturo-historique de Kotor au Monténégro, l'ensemble historique, culturel et naturel des îles Solovetsky en Fédération de Russie, le centre historique de la ville de Yoroslav en Fédération de Russie, Kijipogost, Fédération de Russie, Pergame et son paysage culturel à multiples strates en Turquie, le paysage culturel de la forteresse de Diyarbakir et des jardins de l'Elsvel en Turquie. Et la liste est terminée, Madame la Présidente.
Thank you very much. If there is no objection from the Committee on those State of Conservation reports, I declare the decisions read out adopted. I see none. Adopted. We have concluded Europe and North America, so we can move to mixed size Latin America and the Caribbean region. No mixed property of this region has been proposed for discussion. I will therefore invite Mrs. Petya Tocharova to read the list of the properties for which the reports are proposed for adoption without discussion. You have the floor.
Thank you, Madam Chair. There is one mixed site from the region of Latin America and the Caribbean, which is proposed for adoption without discussion. And this is the ancient Maya city and protected tropical forests of Calakmul, Campeche, Mexico. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you very much. If there is no objection from the Committee on the State of Conservation report, I declare the decision read out adopted. Africa. I would like to invite Mr. Edmund Mukala, Chief of the Africa Unit of the World Heritage Center, to present the reports on the state of conservation of the mixed properties located in the Africa region and open for discussion. You have the floor, Mr. Mukala.
Merci Madame la Présidente. Le rapport sur l'état de conservation des falaises de Bandiagara, Pays d'Ogon, a été soumis par l'État partie le 11 février 2015. Ce rapport se trouve dans le document WAC 1640 comme 7B, page 113 pour la version française et page 110 pour la version anglaise. Le Centre du patrimoine mondial et les organisations consultatives accueillent favorablement les mesures prises par l'État partie pour empêcher les fouilles illégales et le commerce illicite d'artefacts culturels locaux, particulièrement dans le site de Bidi, et pris instamment l'État partie de prendre toutes les mesures nécessaires pour renforcer la protection et le suivi des sites vulnérables. Le Centre du patrimoine mondial et les organisations consultatives prient également l'État partie de poursuivre sa collaboration avec les communautés locales pour les sensibiliser à la valeur des artefacts culturels locaux pour le bien et garantir le fait que les différentes parties prenantes participent à l'entretien et au suivi de ce patrimoine. Un appel est lancé à tous les États parties qui sont également États parties à la Convention de 1970 concernant les mesures à prendre pour interdire et empêcher l'importation, l'exportation et le transfert de propriétés illicites des biens culturels et à soutenir le Mali dans sa lutte contre le commerce illicite. Le projet de décision 40-7B-64 se trouve aux pages 114-115 pour la version française et 111-112 pour la version anglaise. Merci Madame la Présidente.
Thank you for this presentation. ICOMOS wishes to make a presentation.
Thank you, Madam Chair. The Bandigara escarpment is not within the area of conflict in Mali, but it is still being impacted by the unrest. The population of the overall 100-kilometer-long escarpment has declined over the past decades and is now a fraction of what it was 50 years ago. Villages are growing on the plains below. How to strengthen local communities in some 200 scattered villages with a highly distinctive earthen architecture is a huge social challenge. Security is an issue, and as you have heard, this has led to illegal excavations. There is a need for a management and conservation plan, but it is essential that the management plan is broad enough to encompass socio-economic realities, as without measures to support sustainable livelihoods, these ancient communities, which have been there for at least 2 millennia, will find it hard to survive. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. I now give the floor to IUCN.
Thank you, Madam Chair. IUCN has nothing to add to the intervention by ICOMOS. We share the concerns that are expressed by the World Heritage Center and ICOMOS. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you very much. I now invite the committee members to express their comments. No. There's no comments from members. Can I ask the rapporteur?
Thank you, Madam Chair. For this item, we do not have any amendments received.
No, so. Okay. Can we now go to adoption since there are no comments? Adopted. Without mentioning. Okay. Mixed properties. Mixed Arab states. Can we have, okay. Yeah. No mixed property of this region has been proposed for discussion. I will therefore invite Mrs. Petya Tocharova to read the list of properties for which the reports are proposed for adoption without discussion. You have the floor.
Thank you, Madam Chair. The one mixed property in the Arab states which is proposed for adoption without discussion is Wadi Rum Protected Area in Jordan. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I will ask Mrs. Petya Tocharova again to read the list of the properties for which the reports are proposed for adoption without discussion. You have the floor. Tasmanian Wilderness.
The region,
Asia Pacific, mixed properties.
Thank you.
Please take the floor. UN Secretariat. Yeah.
Thank you, Madam Chairperson. A summary of the conservation issues, in particular the efforts and the progress made by the state party for this property can be found in working document 40COM7B on pages 116 to 119 of the English version and pages 119 to 122 of the French version. No additional information has been provided on this property since the dispatch of the working document. The draft decision 40COM7B67 can be found in working document 7B, page 118 of the English version and page 121 of the French version. IUCN will provide further comments on this property, and the amendment, I think, was put forward by Indonesia. Thank you, Madam Chairperson.
I give the floor to advisory bodies, please.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I would just like to clarify my understanding that we are indeed talking about Trang An Conservation Landscape in Vietnam.
Yes, that's the one.
Thank you, Madam Chair. IUCN has had a meeting with the State Party where the State Party clarified that no rock or mountain climbing occurs in the property, with the sole exception of the traditional yearly pilgrimage to Trang An Temple. The State Party also indicated that no additional recreational activities are foreseen in the property. However, IUCN considers that this should be further clarified and unambiguously confirmed in the management plan. Madam Chair, the advisory bodies also welcome the progress made by the State Party in addressing the concerns raised by the committee regarding the boundaries of the property, and for the initiative taken to host an international workshop on the revised management plan of the property, which was attended by representatives of ICOMOS and IUCN. We understand that the amendments proposed by Indonesia to the draft decision reflect these points. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you very much. If the State Party of Indonesia would like to make a comment, you're welcome.
Thank you, Madam Chair. We just would like to echo what IUCN just said, that we have a discussion with the State Party and the advisory body yesterday, and we have also submitted an amendment to the draft decision for the COM 7B67 to the rapporteur. Thank you.
Thank you. I now invite committee members to express their comments. No committee member wants to make any comments. We can go to adoption of the draft decision. May I ask the rapporteur to tell us if there are any amendments to the draft decision?
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. As indicated by the distinguished delegate of Indonesia, we have received an amendment. This is to insert a new paragraph 3, warmly welcomes the progress made by the State Party in addressing the concerns raised by the committee regarding the boundaries of the property, as well as the State Party's initiative to host an international workshop on the revised management plan of the property, which was attended by representatives from ICOMOS and IUCN. The next revision takes place in the original paragraph 6, which is now renumbered to 7. We replaced the first part of the sentence and further requests the State Party to clarify whether or not any additional recreational activities are to be encouraged, where they will be permitted, what facilities will be provided, and identify the potential impacts on OUV and how they will be addressed. Subparas A and B have been deleted. And these are the two amendments that have been proposed on the draft decision. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Do we ask for comments? Okay. Thank you, Madam Rapporteur. Are there any comments or objections to the amendments that have been proposed? I see none. Can we go paragraph by paragraph now to adopt the decision?
Wait a second.
Well, since there are no comments, we can adopt the decision as a whole. I see no comments. I declare decision 40 COM 7B 67 adopted as amended. Okay. Which one now? I will now invite Mr. Feng Jing to read the list of the properties for which the reports are proposed for adoption without discussion. You have the floor.
Thank you, Madam Chairperson. The mixed property of Tasmania Wilderness in Australia, for which its draft decision will be adopted without discussion. Thank you.
Thank you very much. The decision has been adopted. Okay. Europe and North America mixed. I will now invite Mrs. Petya Tocharova to read the list of the properties for which the reports are proposed for adoption without discussion. You have the floor.
Thank you, Madam Chair. The report which is proposed for adoption without discussion from this region is the natural and cultural heritage of the Ohrid region, the former Yugoslav Republic of Macedonia. Thank you.
Thank you very much. If there is no objection from the committee on this state of conservation report, I declare the decision read out adopted. 7B, Nature, Latin America and the Caribbean. For our next report, I would like to give the floor again to the delegation of the Lebanon to present the committee the reason why it requested to open the State of Conservation report on Iguazu National Park, Brazil. Excellency, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam Chair. We already presented the draft and we would like to open discussion about it because it's worth the case. Thank you.
Thank you. I would like to invite Mr. Cesar Moreno Triana, Program Specialist at the Latin America and the Caribbean Unit of the World Heritage Center, and IUCN, whether they have any further comments on this. You have the floor.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I just would like to inform the distinguished members of the committee about recent relevant information received by the World Heritage Center from the State Party of Brazil with regard to the report on Iguazu National Park. On 11 of July, the permanent delegation of Brazil to UNESCO sent a letter to the World Heritage Center and the advisory bodies informing about the following issues. The signature on 7 June 2016 of a letter of intent among the Administración de Parques Nacionales de Argentina, the Chico Mendes Institute in Brazil, the Iguazu National Park in Brazil, and the Iguazu National Park in Argentina. This letter of intent contains provision to strengthen cooperation among the Brazilian and Argentinian authorities responsible for the protection of the parks. As part of the additional information received, the Brazilian authorities transmitted a document containing information on the implementation of the conditions established by the Chico Mendes Institute in Brazil for the approval of the environmental license to the construction of Baixo Iguazu project in conformity with the recommendations made by the 2016 IUCN Reactive Monitoring Mission. Finally, the State Party also informed by this letter that the developer and the Chico Mendes Institute have developed an action plan to safeguard the aquatic and semi-aquatic species as well as a risk management plan. As to the modification to the draft decision, the World Heritage Center has no difficulty with the proposed amendments. With your permission, Madam Chair, IUCN would like to also provide comments on the report. Thank you, Madam.
Thank you. I give the floor to IUCN.
Thank you, Madam Chair. IUCN would just like to add that we think that the recently signed letter of intent represents a significant step in strengthening and formalizing transboundary cooperation between the two parks, which was requested by the World Heritage Committee in a number of its decisions. And this important step should also be used as an opportunity to ensure coordination between the relevant authorities in Brazil and in Argentina with regards to the Baixo Iguaçu hydropower project and assessment of its potential implications for both World Heritage properties. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. I now invite the committee members to express their comments. Portugal, please.
Thank you very much, Madam President. Well, it is indeed good to hear good news. We've been laboring with sad things for the last 2 days, so finally we have some good news. It's always very rejoicing. So let me congratulate both Brazil and Argentina for strengthening their cooperation concerning the Iguazu Park and settling some of the issues that were the result of both countries. And let me also congratulate Brazil for the progress which has been registered in solving at least part of the other issues that were concerning us. And I trust that both Brazil and Argentina will together reinforce their cooperation concerning Iguazu, and that Brazil, I'm sure, will answer positively to all the outstanding requests from this committee. And I look forward for the revised draft that I understand has been tabled by Lebanon, and that takes into account these very significant developments. I thank you.
Thank you, Ambassador. I now give the floor to the representative of Philippines.
Thank you, Madam Chair. The Philippines wishes to commend the cooperation between Brazil and Argentina in planning, patrolling, and mitigation of human-wildlife conflicts in this exceptional transboundary property. We welcome the recent signing of the letter of intent among the parties concerned that confirms parties concerned of Brazil and Argentina, that confirms the resolve of the parties to strengthen their cooperation between and among them in accordance with the previous committee decisions. We also note that the management plan for the property is currently being revised. The updating of this management plan will be a welcome development that will have a positive effect on the flagship species there. Thank you very much, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Madam Ambassador. I now give the floor to the representative of Zimbabwe.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Zimbabwe joins Portugal and the Philippines in congratulating Brazil and Argentina in coming up with this cooperation model, which will help in the management of the two properties, of the adjacent properties. We also commend the state party for providing to the center the implementation plan. We support the amendment to the decision that has been provided. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Ambassador. I now give the floor to the representative of Korea.
Thank you, Madam Chair. The Republic of Korea welcomes that the two state parties, Argentina and Brazil, made a letter of intent to strengthen their collaboration to conserve the Iguazu National Park. We expect that this collaboration continues and strengthened, which will lead to full implementation of this committee's recommendation with cooperation. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I now give the floor to the representative of Angola.
Merci, Madame la Présidente. L'Angola soutient également ces efforts qui ont été réalisés par le Brésil et l'Argentine. C'est un bon exemple de coopération qui peut inspirer les États partis à notre prestigieuse convention. Donc l'Angola soutient fermement l'amendement qui a été porté donc, au projet de décision. Je vous remercie.
Thank you very much. I now give the floor to the representative of Tunisia.
Merci Madame la Présidente. Alors, je voudrais saluer l'initiative de l'État partie Liban pour engager la discussion sur ce dossier, mais sans rallonger, je vais m'aligner sur la position des autres États parties qui se sont exprimés en félicitant l'Argentine et le Brésil pour avoir signé cette charte d'intention, et je pense qu'il y a de bonnes augures pour qu'elle soit concrétisée. J'aurais juste une petite modification à proposer à l'article 5 du projet 69 et 10 du projet 70. Sur le même article, j'ajouterai appel et encourage à, etc. Donc c'est pour insister un petit peu sur l'article 5 du 7B69 ou 10 du 7B70. Merci Madame la Présidente.
Thank you, Tunisia. We have 4 more speakers, and I would like to close after those 4, which are Azerbaijan, Jamaica, Peru, and Kuwait. I now invite the representative of Azerbaijan to take the floor.
Thank you, Madam Chair. We would like to know the progress made by the State Party on the implementation of the recommendations of the World Heritage Center and the advisory bodies. We welcome the signature of the letter of intent between the relevant authorities of the State Party, Brazil, and the relevant institution of Argentina, and would like to congratulate both sides in this regard. We believe that this new information should be integrated into the draft decision accordingly. Thank you very much.
Thank you. I give the floor to the representative of Jamaica.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Jamaica concurs with the views expressed by other members of the committee, particularly those of Portugal, Lebanon, and the Philippines, and congratulates the states parties, Argentina and Brazil, for what must be seen as significant progress. We support the draft decisions. Thank you.
Thank you. I give the floor to representative of Peru.
Muchas gracias, señora presidenta. Seré breve. Ya otras delegaciones han elogiado y han encomiado el compromiso del gobierno del Brasil para el cumplimiento de las obligaciones que se derivan de la gestión sostenible del sitio, y muy particularmente la carta de intención que han suscrito los gobiernos de Argentina y del Brasil, que el Perú celebra, felicita a ambos gobiernos, y estamos de acuerdo con usted, señora presidenta, para que luego de la siguiente intervención podamos ver el texto del proyecto de decisión. Muchas gracias.
Thank you. I give the floor to the representative of Kuwait.
شكرا سيدتي الرئيسة. في البداية أتقدم بالتهنئة لكل من دولة البرازيل والأرجنتين للوصول للتوافق، وإن دل فعلا نموذج واضح للتعاون والمصلحة العامة الدولية. وأيضا نؤيد التعديلات التي اقترحت من قبل دولة لبنان. شكرا.
Thank you. Okay. I now invite I invite the rapporteur to give us any amendments that she has received. Madam Rapporteur.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I believe that the amendments proposed by the distinguished delegates of Finland and Lebanon has been already circulated around the room. I would just like to go through the amendments. In paragraph 3, the last part has been deleted. And paragraph 4 is amended to read, Also welcomes the signature of the letter of intent between the Administración de Parques Nacionales de Argentina, ICMBio, the Iguazu National Park in Brazil, and Iguazu National Park in Argentina on the 7th of June 2016, that confirmed the resolve of these parties to strengthen their collaborative efforts and to examine modalities of improving cooperation between the two national parks. Originally, there wasn't any amendment proposed for paragraph 5, but I believe that the distinguished delegate of Tunisia actually requested to include a phrase in paragraph 5. That's what I heard from the translations, to launch a call, but I wasn't quite sure of where he would like to place that amendment. With your permission, could I ask the delegate of Tunisia of where he would like the amendment to take place? Sorry.
Yeah, I invite the representative of Tunisia to clarify.
Oui, bien sûr, madame. J'avais focalisé sur l'Argentine. En fait, c'est sur le 10 du Brésil, l'article 10 de la proposition, l'ancien article 10. Encourage, donc appelle et encourage. Appelle et encourage. En fait, c'est pour insister un peu plus. Non, appelle avant, before.
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you for the clarification. Then we go on to paragraph 9. Noting that progress has been made by the State Party on the implementation of some of the 2015 mission recommendations, requests the State Party to ensure that the construction of the Baxo Iguazu hydropower dam complies with all recommendations of the 2015 mission with regards to this project. In particular, A, in addition to the existing environmental impact assessment, develop a specific assessment of any potential impacts of the construction and operation of the Baxo Iguazu hydropower plant, specifically on the OUV and integrity of the property. Subpara B, they would just like to replace the word consultations with coordination. And in paragraph 10, as the distinguished delegate of Tunisia confirmed, it calls upon and encourages the State Party to continue its efforts. And these are all the amendments proposed. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I now give the floor to representative of Peru.
Muchas gracias, señora presidenta. Muy simple y muy breve. Para respaldar plenamente las enmiendas propuestas por Finlandia, por Líbano y por Túnez. El Perú aprovecha también para dar su respaldo al conjunto de esta decisión. Muchas gracias, señora presidenta.
Thank you. Before we move to adopt the draft decision, I would like... No. Okay. Okay, we now move to adopt the draft decision 40-7B70. How do we go about this? How do we go about this? Since the draft was given to all members and we have heard the amendments, we now move to adopt decision 40-7B70. Adopted. I now give the floor to the State Party of Brazil to make comments.
Thank you. Thank you, Madam Chair. I just would like to express my gratitude to the committee members, especially the Lebanese and Finn delegations, for granting us the opportunity to bring to your knowledge new information about the recent measures taken by Brazil on the protection of the Iguaçu National Park. We are also grateful to the World Heritage Center and IUCN for the constructive dialogue established concerning this property. We are sure, Madam Chair, that this new letter of intent will provide Brazil and Argentina with the tools to reinforce even more bilateral cooperation in this field. Having said that, I would like just to reaffirm the Brazilian government's full commitment to continue to pursue the implementation of the mission's recommendations. Thank you.
Thank you, Brazil. I see that Peru wishes to comment again. Please be mindful of the time.
Muchas gracias, señora presidenta. Quiero referirme a la interrelación del proyecto de decisión que acabamos de adoptar, referido al Parque de Iguazú de Brasil, con la decisión 40,7b.69, que hemos considerado sin debate y que se refiere al mismo sitio, pero del lado argentino, es decir, el Parque Iguazú Argentina. El párrafo 13 de la resolución, de la decisión que acabamos de aprobar, tenía la misma redacción que el párrafo 3 en el caso de la Argentina, es decir, en el proyecto 40,7b69. Se refiere a la misma situación y es exactamente igual. Consecuentemente, la modificación que hemos aprobado en el caso del proyecto de decisión sobre Brasil tiene que aplicarse también al caso del proyecto de decisión 7b.69 relativo a la Argentina. Y esto lo podría hacer, creo yo, directamente la Secretaría con el acuerdo del comité, porque se trata de dos situaciones que son iguales, dos párrafos que son iguales y dos niveles de cooperación entre los países que son iguales. Consecuentemente, hay que hacer una transpolarización, hay que cambiar el párrafo 3 de la decisión sobre Argentina con la misma redacción que hemos aprobado por el Brasil. Muchas gracias, señora presidenta.
Thank you very much. I give the floor to Madame Rosla.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair. The other item was not opened, but if the committee wished to do so, we can just make this consistency of the language in the two decisions. So with your permission, we will do that with the rapporteur.
Thank you very much. Which one now? I invite the Secretariat to make announcements.
You could see the side events on the screen, see in front of you. In the advisory body space, there is a launch of the IUCN World Heritage Outlook Partners, and there is also sharing of experiences on serial nominations by ICOMOS. Side events on the integration of sustainable developments into processes of World Heritage Convention is taking place in room Emirgan 1 by the UNESCO Chair on Management and Promotion of World Heritage Sites in Kadir Has University, Istanbul, and in the Hamidiye room from 1:45 to 2:45, a presentation of two heads publications, and I just want to flag that there are several exhibitions that are going on in the foyer of B2, and an event in room Yildiz 1, the Human Rights Liberation and Reconciliation by South Africa. Thank you. These are the announcements for this for today.
Thank you very much. The meeting is now adjourned. Please, let's meet here at 3 p.m. sharp. Thank you.